Hi friends, good evening, and this is your host Ankit Khanilwal joining you from Delhi, India, and we have Nick Palavida joining us from Delhi, North Carolina. And welcome to IBM Tv Met Friday with Doctors, and we have a lineup with the doctors discussing about the current pandemic situation. So it's ready to start this show. So Nick, what's happening in US?
U.S. is a situation normal. Everything's screwed up. The the thing is, we're like running around with chicken. If you ever see a chicken with a head cut off running around, that's kind of like what's going on here. The coronavirus is definitely not in control. The leaders are clueless, and what happens is that the death rates keep going up. I think we're getting close to 160,000 now. The projections are close to 300,000 before the end of the year of people dying. The people are totally uncooperative. I mean, well, they're not everybody. I mean, there's some people that cooperate and then there's a lot of them. I'm losing my freedom. I'm losing my freedom. And so we have a very chaotic situation over here. It's really, really sad because the thing is, there's a lot of people that just aren't taking it seriously, and they'll use any anecdotal evidence whatsoever to support their position. They don't have to wear a mask. They can go out and mingle. They can ignore this whole situation. It's a hoax, etc. And so what happens, it counts for an extremely high death rate. Right now, they're going to open the schools. It's going to be horrible. The kids are going to get infected. The kids will be asymptomatic. The kids will go home. The parents will get infected. They'll infect their grandparents, and then people will die. That's what's going to happen. And it's only because we just don't seem to get it. It's like I said, I just don't see the situation improving here over the next several years. So with that, let's bring in some people that maybe will improve the situation. From the Socialist Republic of Silicon Valley, Jim Mead, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, good to have you here. We'll bring in from Hong Kong, Rakesh. These are the regulars. And then a new regular. Okay, we have Anna Mandal. Kumar, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Coach.
I've seen you on the show before. So we'll start with you because the other two guys are really boring. Okay, I've talked to them before. They're extremely boring. So we'll talk to you. So tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Anand Mai, and people here on IBM TV, and because of IBM TV now they have started calling me Coach Kumar. I run a show on IBM TV every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. India time, which is 10 p.m. EST, which is called Soul Smart with Anand Mai, where we talk about different aspects of spirituality. We learn together, we grow together, and we laugh together.
That's where I saw you before. Okay, so you're a spiritual, positive person. Okay, I do have a couple negative people we can bring on. We have Rakesh and Jim, so they can help balance that.
They're my partner in crime.
Yes.
They can help balance that positive with that negative charge.
I know her secret name too.
Oh, there's a secret name? Are you serious? Okay, so we got to find out more about this.
I got to keep it on the down low with that because that's between she and I.
You got to keep it confidential. Just a second, I'm going to send one of my computer bots into your brain and we'll find out what it is. Speaking about computer bots,
you don't get lost in my brain.
Computer bots will get coronavirus and die. But what do you think about our resident genius we had yesterday?
It's fascinating. Absolutely
fascinating. Okay, yeah.
Very good.
Well,
Very good.
I'm trying to grab him back on again, but that's like herding cats. But we're going to try to get him back on here again for IBM TV. And all I do is I watch the ratings go off the charts on some of our shows, and I go, this is weird, so people like weird people, so that's great. I mean, they're watching weird people. What
inviting me back?
I don't know what the problem is on that one. I think it's all Ankit's fault. Just a second, maybe Ankit will stick around so we can blame him, because he's out of
Ben's not here.
He just left us. Son of a gun. I was just about to jump into it, but anyway, he just took off. That surprised me. So, Ms. Kumar, what city and country are you from?
New Delhi, India.
Where in India?
New Delhi.
Oh, New Delhi. Oh, Lord. Okay, New Delhi. That's where Ankit's from. So you guys are next door neighbors then, right?
Yeah.
The same
to
school.
two different areas. He stays in north, I stay in south.
Oh, you stay in the south end to stay away from him. Hey, have you ever been to Samoti Palace down near Jaipur? It's called Samoti Palace. Have you ever been down?
Jodhpur.
Yeah?
Jodhpur.
Yeah, Jaipur. Yeah, right. It's down there. It's called Samoti Palace. Have you seen
No,
that?
I haven't been there. No, I haven't been there yet.
Have you seen pictures of it?
Yes, I have seen pictures of it, and a couple of them I saw here on the show because I'm a secret watcher also. Yesterday I was watching
Okay.
Julian, and before that I keep following you guys whichever show is going on. So I love to be here. So usually this is my working time, so I just sneak into with my mobile phone from Facebook or any other channel I can get access to, and I
Mhm.
saw a couple of pictures. We had a plan to go to Rajasthan,
Right.
Jodhpur, Jaipur, and other, but this coronavirus has taken that privilege from us.
Yeah.
Just waiting for December, things to settle down, and then we'll go on a family vacation.
Okay. So what do you think about our resident genius, Julian, yesterday? What do you think about
Oh,
that
it
kid?
was wonderful. I was watching him, and as he was saying that, he was using a word, gifted people, and I was so happy to hear that. And of course, the way he was telling us that how even gifted people are discriminated in a way, and what are the um, other side of the lives of gifted people who talk something which general people doesn't understand in a way they are conditioned to understand.
Right.
So that was very interesting. I was looking
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
from a different perspective. So
Yeah, I thought he was really nice. He used the term gifted people as often as I use the term stupid people. So we have different opinions on, I guess, on people and stuff like that.
But
But
Coach Kumar, when
what?
he was talking about gifted people and how they can be discriminated against and how it's kind of a lonely path for someone who's gifted, isn't that the same thing for a spiritual person such as yourself? Don't you feel that it's hard for other people to understand what you're trying to say?
yes, Jim. So I read this quote somewhere that when people doesn't understand what you're saying, they will call you crazy.
Yes.
So you are
Yeah.
crazy for them, they're crazy for you, and then that's the balance.
Right.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I totally understand that. The minute you're out on the tail end of any distribution curve, you're a little crazy, and stuff like that. So I totally understand that. But see, at IBM TV, we can do magic. You notice that guys like
Here I go.
Ankit, I
Gonna
can
put
get
me off.
rid of, but guess what? If I like Ankit, I can just bring him back. So,
I thought you were going to make me disappear. So
well, sometimes I think about that. And when I think about it, it sometimes becomes reality. So I thought about that, and then Jim all of a sudden left. So I have a lot of spiritual control over here. Now Rakesh, though, he's a really nice guy. He shows up all the time. He does educational stuff. I still don't understand what he does out of Hong Kong, because he kept saying, we're going to do one-on-one education. I go, one-on-one education's expensive. So I'm not sure how you do.
It's not. You don't have to travel. You, he has a computer. You have a computer. It's so easy.
Oh, really? Okay. But the thing is, then you have to have one person pay one person as opposed to one person scales with a bunch of people. So how does that work?
No, I teach 3 kids at a time. Today I taught 3 kids, and they're all, you talk to them, you involve them into the show. They do crazy things too, because they're kids, but it's fun. It's you sort of make them compete against one another, and it's great fun. I enjoy it. The kids enjoy it. Every week we have a get together. I'm planning to get more teachers interacting with more kids. So it's much better than 1:30 or 1:60 as we have in Indian classes. So I think there are a lot of people who don't have to be. I don't have a BA degree, but I love teaching. So there are a lot of people like me who would love to teach, and we're not, qualified, but we can help children understand. So because we know the subject, and we can help children understand. All we need to do is to rope them in.
Right. Yeah. In order to get them participating. But you do all your teaching online. Is that correct? Is that how all the teaching takes place? Okay.
All my teaching online.
Now, why is it in the United States they say online teaching isn't good? You know, they need to be in a classroom next to each other.
But you
What's
know
the
the
story
answer
there?
to that.
No, it's. I think it's got to do with the classroom environment, social skills that come with the school, and that's important too. I mean, I'm not saying that online is the only way, but it's certainly something where it can serve as a backup when the mass teaching doesn't work. I studied in the old school where we were one in a class of 40 or 45, and sometimes you had a doubt, you couldn't ask the teacher. But if you had, and what most students who could afford it, they had after class tuitions. And what this does is that you don't have to stay in school and take the after class tuition. You can take a tuition after your games or whatever time is convenient for you from a person who's free at that time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, what about a person like me? I hate my teachers. I hate the class. I hate my fellow people that show up. I hate my classmates. How do you help me?
Yeah, you get somebody who hates you equally.
Okay. So Jim has arrived. Okay.
I really,
I'm just
because I
joking.
relate to what Nick just said.
You will find somebody who understands you.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
You're married, so there's at least one
Oh.
person in the world who understands you.
Well, I do
Oh,
have one
my
statement
dog
and one
understands.
question.
Yeah.
The statement is that I think that socialization can be done by recess. My favorite part of school was recess because I disliked school. School disliked me. And I think that the socialization is necessary by play. And it's not accomplished during the classroom. And I also think my question to you, Rakesh, is, what's the economical way of doing this one-on-one instruction, which is definitely what I needed. And what I would prefer for most people is that one-on-one. But what we do is we group them together because it makes more sense economically.
No, it doesn't. I find when I teach, I'm able to charge a reasonable fee, and I compared it with what I could draw in New Zealand, and actually drawing more than what I would draw in an hour in New Zealand. And I find it the economics working out very well because I don't need to travel anywhere. I have enough time to do research on my books, prepare for the topics. As long as you've got your schedules worked out, and I'm teaching. I'm a graduate in science. I teach school level and pre-university level, so it's a couple of levels down. It's stuff that I know thoroughly. So if I wanted to teach graduates, I would get somebody who did a PhD, so who's thorough with that subject and who can teach comfortably without too much effort.
But that's the economics from your point of view as a teacher. You're making enough money to subsist and to maybe thrive. But what about the people that cannot afford to pay you what your current rate is?
Yeah, my plan was for those who cannot afford it. My plan was like I'm eventually planning to move into Africa, and my fees will be very different for that country. To some extent, so what people are paying in a richer country would subsidize what people would be paying in a poorer country. And if I could get a group of students studying together, and you can with Zoom put your hand up. It has a facility where you can put your hand up and ask a question of a teacher. So as long as you don't cram it with so many students, you know what they're doing. My sister teaches university students. She's a PhD. She teaches university students using Zoom. And of course, they're smaller classes. They're not 30:1. But she's able to manage that quite comfortably. We're sitting there in Bombay.
Oh, really?
Well, Your Honor, defense rests.
Okay, but I have a question.
Sure.
That's right. Okay, you teach sciences, right? And the thing is, coronavirus. Does your classes ever go into these pandemics? In other words, what is the best? I would figure there's somewhere some research paper, maybe on ssrn.com, about how countries or people should react to panic. I mean, a pandemic, not a panic pandemic. Do you guys ever explore this? Because it's almost like, hey, we ignored this altogether. At least we did here, and there's no white paper. What to do? There's no guidance. I mean, it's like we got caught. Is there anything in the science world that you look at relating to the pandemic and the situation we're involved in now?
Actually, the students. I mean, for science, I've just got one student in New Zealand, and he is pretty much focused on his the syllabus that he's got. I try to drive things, turn the topic around the pandemic, because I want to make it contemporary. I want to make it meaningful. So I always try to relate it to something that is happening nowadays, so that the student feels engaged. And he says, "Oh, yeah, he knows about the pandemic. He knows what the problems are." And if you're talking to him about biology and phages and things like that, you can sort of evoke his interest by involving something as contemporary as that. Of course, I only stick to what I know, and while it is, I would say I'm reasonably informed, I'm no expert.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way I handle it.
Yeah, because the reason I'm saying, like over here, there's a state called South Dakota, and they were touting how well they were doing, that they only had like 400 deaths or something like that. And the governor, who's a Republican, goes, "Oh, you can go out and do whatever you want, to take advantage of the situation." But then now you look real carefully, the devil in the details. The population of South Dakota is 858,000. And so they're touting, look, we only had like 400 deaths on 858,000. Look how successful we are. People should follow us. Our rule is do the best you can, but there's no government interference. Okay, seriously. Then when you look at Malaysia, they have a population of 32 million. They have 125 deaths, and there's just no comparison. So and this is what I'm talking about, the anecdotal evidence to support the position that the individual does not have to take any responsibility for this virus is all over the United States. And so what happens is, even today as we're speaking, kids go out and party, they don't have masks. Kids go to school today, they don't have masks. Kids, the parents go to parties and bars, they don't have masks, because in South Dakota, they could do what they wanted to, and look, they don't have that many coronaviruses. And see, this is what's going on here in the United States, and that's published on this thing called Facebook. And we run on Facebook, so I can't criticize them too much. But what they do is they support a position, Rakesh, that you don't have to do anything, because this stuff is way overrated and blown up by the media. The result is we have about 158,000 deaths, increasing possibly to 295,000. And this is what's going on over here. This is the realities of the United States. They don't take it seriously. Now, Hong Kong, from what I understand, you guys wear masks over there, don't you, and take this a little bit more seriously?
Very seriously. I don't know. I have only been to the United States for 10 days in my whole life. So my understanding of the psyche of American people is very limited. But in Hong Kong, they have been through SARS, and they have they understand the importance of social discipline, of civic sense, as they used to term it in my time. And they follow it, and not only that, I think even in the United States, it's an individual has a responsibility for his own life. So if you know that there's a pandemic in the world, it's something which has never happened in the history of the world, as far as my life last 60 years, well, almost 60, then you've got to recognize it and give it the seriousness that is due to it. That is intelligence. And in fact, I found out about intelligence thing. That is intelligence, and if I think it's evolution that if you're if not only have you got to be physically fit, you've also got to be mentally fit to survive. If people sort of give it not enough, due importance, then evolution will take its toll, and these people will be out of the gene pool. This as simple as that. It's there is
over a period of time. Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe. I
Yeah.
have some other theories related to that.
So it's as simple as that, as far as I'm concerned. The TED Talk where that beautiful definition came from was from Alexander Wisner Gross, who did this. The TED Talk was called A New Equation for Intelligence. Really fascinating to listen to that talk too. And of course, Julian was absolutely, for the time that I could stay on the show, I loved every second of it.
So you ran a good show. Ms. Kumar, what's going on in India? I've seen data that India is starting to increase in the coronavirus, but the deaths don't seem to be at the same rate that we see in the United States. So what's happening in New Delhi? And you could talk about Old Delhi too, because we're interested in Old Delhi as well as New Delhi.
So cases are increasing, and last week we were speaking with Dr. Sagu on IBM TV only, that Indians are reaching to something called herd immunity, where we are getting infected and we are just having those antibodies in ourselves, and we are asymptomatic or very, very lower grade symptoms, not the full blown coronavirus symptom, and then we get well and we don't even know that we were infected. That's the one case. On the other hand, when I was listening to Rakesh, it reminded me of one of the stories that how people also not wearing masks and taking precautions in India. One of my sisters, she works with jewelry. So one day she just came down in her apartment to hand over the courier, and she was wearing all the masks, gloves, face shield, and everything. And then there was an uncle in his 60s, late 60s, and he was just staring my sister. And then she said, "Uncle, why are you not wearing the mask?" And he said, "I stay away from you infected people." she was just taking her precautions because she was going to get in contact with the society guards and the courier person. And the uncle was staring her and saying that you are wrong by wearing all these masks and gloves and everything. So there are two different categories of people here. One are like us who follow all the instructions and even go beyond following the instructions to just stay safe. And then there's the other community which is like, oh God, why are you wearing masks? Are you infected? I don't spread that to me, because if you're wearing a mask, that means you are infected. So.
Oh, really? Wow. What about the Socialist Republic of Silicon Valley? Here's what I've heard happening over there, and I've actually had clients now leaving California because the Socialist Republic, your governor, decides to increase the state tax rate to nearly 17%, in addition to the federal tax rate of in the 30s, putting some of my clients, in nearly a 50% tax bracket. So your response is always, and of course you're a socialist country over there, is to raise taxes on the masses so they can stay with the classes. So what's going on there? Are people hunkering down in San Francisco, Jim, or are they just don't care and they're out there doing what they want?
You have to go county by county here because there's different. You just drive in 50 miles in any direction and you will find something completely different in terms of the response. But I did want to point out, I get up 10 minutes earlier now because Ankit's got me so tightly scheduled. But I have an opportunity now to glance at the headlines. And today's headline in the New York Times was that the cases in the United States exceed those combined of Europe, Canada, Japan, Australia, and one other country that I'm forgetting, but by a factor of 5.
Really?
So take all of those large populations, put them together, and multiply them by 5, and you get the number of cases in the United States.
Right. Yeah.
So this is how poorly we are handling this situation compared to the rest of the world.
Mhm.
Now, India's right up, coming close. I think you're third to us now.
Yeah, I think it's United States, Brazil, and then India.
Yes.
Right.
And so there are countries that are handling it well. And there are countries that are taking these precautions. Japan, it's common to wear a mask. So Japan's rates are very low. Countries that are more, I'm not going to use the word discipline, but that's the word that's coming to mind, like Malaysia, where people
Right.
can take these precautions and do it as a community, thinking not only to take care of themselves but others. Their rates of infections are very low, and their death rate is just a rounding error to consider to California's death rate,
Right.
and not mentioning the entire country death rate,
Yeah.
which is getting up to around 1,000 a day now. So this is
1,000 a day of what's going on with 1,000 a day?
Deaths.
Deaths in the United States at 1,000 a day.
All
Okay.
right.
Yeah. Get that, Hong Kong.
It's something like
1,000 a day, baby.
When you
it's true.
talk about spikes in other areas,
It's not people get infected. People are dying here at the rate of 1,000 a day. That's called leadership.
Yeah, and when Willie was on from Australia in Melbourne, they were cracking down on this because they had a spike of 100 deaths. So, but
that's in Harvard Business Review.
Yeah.
How to Lead in a Time of Crisis. Apparently, we need somebody to read that book. I mean, this issue.
And it is a failure of leadership, but it is also part of our culture is anti-intellectual and this rugged individualism that you can't tell people to do. So it's partly our culture and partly a failure of leadership. I agree in both parties.
Right. In other words, the thing is, when history looks back, they're going to see this to be a combination of both. Yes, Rakesh.
Off the cuff, I mean, the founders of USA, you had Ben Franklin, who was a genius. You had Jefferson, who was another kind of genius. I mean, apart from the funny stuff that he did, there were many people who were absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely.
And I don't understand why this aversion to science, because the most wonderful thing about, I grew up in school reading Tom Swift, which was all about science. I was just saying, when will I be able to live in a country that had that much reverence for science? And then I just am so disappointed that, in so many Western cultures, including in New Zealand to some extent, fortunately the leaders are better. There is this aversion to science. It's too hard basket, we call it in New Zealand. And, that is one of the reasons why I set up this STEM project, which is to spread science, to counter I saw a lot of religious right, even in New Zealand, which is normally quite a balanced country. But I saw quite a few of those there, and many of them based in Australia. There's a chap called Ken Ham, the guy who backed the Noah's Ark in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That guy.
Yeah, they actually built a replica of the Noah's Ark in the United States, sitting in Tennessee. Yes, I totally am familiar.
Absolute card sharp, rotten person completely. And I met one of his lawyer in New Zealand, another disgusting person. And I just think that these people have to be fought.
Yeah.
They have immense personalities. You have to recognize their personalities. They're strong personalities, and they have to be fought. They are exploiting the faith of people. And it is the most.
This is another show entirely.
I
have so much to say on this subject, but I do want to ask Coach Kumar one more question, because we were talking earlier about if you say something that people don't understand, you're crazy. And I wanted to get you to give me an example of a spiritual statement that you might make where people would think you were crazy.
Okay, so I'll start with Reiki, because we both are familiar with that energy. So when I started doing Reiki, and I told people that, I learned a technique which is energy based, and that technique requires me to put my hand or put my intentions to heal a part of you or a part of your body or a problem. And they were like, what sort of black magic are you trying to do on us? Are you
Yes.
crazy? So, and then afterwards, when they also came across, because in last couple of years, alternative healings has increased a lot, and a lot of people are turning their faces towards spirituality, meditation, and of course, there's a sort of different type of beliefs around that as well. But now, in comparison to 7 years ago when I was studying it for the first time, and now I see a lot of changes in people mindset as well. But still, there are people who don't understand it and say that, okay, you're talking crazy stuff, because they don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yes.
but is it really crazy though? I mean, and I know Rakesh is going to push the science side of this, but a lot of there's a placebo effect in medicine. Okay, and that's part of the reason what they do is they'll have to blind test drugs, because if you and same with people that go see doctors. They said, well, 80% of the people that come see doctors, the doctors cure them because the person's mind, they believe you're going to cure them, and because they believe that, they actually cure themselves. It's something that's really weird that happens out there. We don't have a resident genius to give us his opinion on that, but the thing is,
one on IBM TV though, so I can pitch in. I play a genius on IBM.
Oh,
TV.
you do? Okay, so we can get our pseudo intellectual,
the
pseudo intellectual from Silicon Valley
right.
to
Absolutely.
opine.
Okay. If you want.
Okay. So yeah, he's just like anybody on regular TV. He can talk anything he says, anything he wants, and doesn't have to have any foundation for it. That's what we call science in America. Okay, Rakesh, you got to get that. Okay, we can say anything we want. We can do anything we want. We can have no foundation for it, and we can be an expert. So I am going to defer to my new resident pseudo intellectual genius, Jim Eade, to discuss this effect.
But it's the
people.
reason we burned witches in Salem, because they would be mixing medicines and creating poultices to heal people from burns and for whatever, and people didn't understand it. And so they thought they must be creating dark magic, and that's what they were, witches. And so they burned them or drowned them because this was something they did not understand. Yes. And so to a lesser extent, Coach Kumar is talking about Reiki not being understood and thought of as black magic. But there is science behind it. There are energy patterns in our body. There are currents in our body. And the placebo effect that you mentioned, I have the opposite experience. I have white coat.
Dun, 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 dun.
So
white
when
coat
I walk
syndrome.
into a doctor's office, I get sicker.
Right, you get sicker. Right. Yes. By the way, that what you're describing is absolutely true. There's also a white coat syndrome, and it happens because when we send people in on the insurance side to get them a physical, they'll come up with high blood pressure. They don't really have high blood pressure, but when they see a medical doctor, they go into a panic and they get what they call white coat syndrome, and so their blood pressure then automatically raises. Okay, but I think Miss Kumar is a little bit above that, and she's looking at a.
My point is, it's not magic. It really happens.
Yes, I know that. But the thing is,
the white coat syndrome really happens, and there is a scientific basis.
Yeah, but see, that's a scientific basis. See, Miss Kumar, I believe, is above the scientific basis. So what you have to do is somehow convince Krishnan, who's the scientific dude, that there's something above his scientific stuff that's out there in the cosmic order of the universe.
My mind is open at the moment about Reiki. I've just not decided either way. I don't believe in it. I don't disbelieve in it. I'm just listening.
Yes.
Oh, I see. His mind is open.
Okay, so Nick, I have a question for you.
Me?
So, yes. So you just enter in a room filled with 20 or 25 people, or maybe more. And suddenly, and you don't know a couple of them, but suddenly you feel attracted to few people and not attracted to others. Why does that happen?
Oh, for me, it's quite simple. I read things. Okay, so the thing is, like I read things that are just really, really strange. So the thing is, I read things. What can I tell you? In other words, like when Julian was on the other day, I figured he'd be pretty good, but I kind of like read who this person was. So that's what happens. In other words, if I take a group, I can actually just read the group and say, okay, this is this person, that person.
Explain what you mean by reading.
Reading, okay. Reading is real simple, Jim. Okay, the thing is, it's more toward the scientific part where Rakesh says, but may involve some of the spiritual part that Ms. Kumar was saying. Because the thing is, it depends on how well you're connected and also connected with the cosmic order of the universe. All right, so it's just like sometimes you get these things that are read that says, okay, you got to start IBM TV. All right. So the thing is, I was basically given this, hey, you got to start IBM TV, which is beyond the comprehensions of mere mortals like yourself, which is okay. Okay. Then there's a read by taking a profile and looking and saying, okay, this person is XYZ. And so you read them. In other words, you can actually read people just like you read a book. And you, or just like you read a chess position, and you everybody does it. Some people do it to more extreme than others because it's pattern recognition. Over a while, there's a pattern. And when I used to do presentations all over the country, and I would literally see thousands and thousands of people in every city that I went to. After a while, somebody would be in the front row. I said, "Okay," I said, "You're never going to buy anything. Why not?" Well, just because of a few statements you made, and me seeing 10,000 people that year, I've seen you over and over again. Oh, you never met me? Yeah, I have. Okay. In other words, that's what I call reading people. I mean, it's really sad, but the thing is, unfortunately, people turn out, I used to call somatotypes. After a while, people have what they call somatotypes. And the thing is, it is what it is out there. What can I tell you?
How would you describe his reading? Do you think it's all visual?
No, for me, reading, what Nick is saying is not the visual reading, what he's saying. It is sensing more than reading, like in literal terms, that's holding a book or maybe something written on their clothes, which he's reading, or maybe reading his mind, but not through the visual eyes. It could be more on the sense based.
Sensing. Yeah.
More on the wavelength of matching, or maybe.
Well,
so first.
It's even sensing and visualization, okay, Jim. Okay, when we start IBM TV, the theory, because remember IBM TV was zero about a year ago, no, it didn't even exist. That there was a sense that we could actually accomplish what we're accomplishing right now. That we could bring people in all over the world on one network, create different channels, create different content, go into these different, I mean, you could call it a certain amount reading and a certain amount spatial visualization, that we can go to where we're going and also beyond, because everybody can see where you're at today, right? There's nobody who can't miss where you're at today. We know Ms. Kumar is in New Delhi today, okay? We know Krishnan is in Hong Kong today. You're sitting in that Silicon Valley today. But can you project what you're going to be and where you're going to be next year, and what your environment's going to look like a year from now? All right. Now you could, but that means you have to think futuristic, right? You can't think about where you're at today, where you're going to be 1 year. Can you do it 5 years from now? You see what I mean? In other words, you just kind of like see into the future 5 years from now. Now I see into the future 5 years from now, Rakesh will not be in Hong Kong, only because statements he's made to me. Okay, so the thing is, if I was to project Rakesh, he will not be in Hong Kong in 5 years from now. Okay, now the more information you get, the more you can read. I do project in 5 years, Jim, you're still going to be stuck in Silicon Valley. All right. I mean, you know, and see, this is what I'm call about the visualization. And Ms. Kumar will probably still be in India. Okay, I mean, that's kind of, but again, you're just taking data and you're assimilating. Then you go into 10 years from now. And in other words, you can keep projecting all the way out. But if you project too far, what happens?
You go wrong.
No, you don't go wrong. Okay, you're all dead. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and also you get hit by a bus tomorrow. So, you know, all projections are false, but no,
they're not false.
Yes, they are. But
oh, come on.
They're just your imagination.
No, it's not my imagination. Let me tell you something, dude.
There is a process.
Where are you going to be 100 years from now?
Right. You're going to be dead. I won't talk over you.
Okay, you don't have to talk over me because I'm right, and you know that. 100 years from now, you be dead. Okay, and there is no, well, it's
It
wrong.
depends on
His
how
body
you
will be
start,
dead.
you know.
Then that's where you need Miss Kumar. The body will be
Let
dead.
me
What about you?
put in my 2 pennies worth. They say a man is not dead if he lives in the memory of another person. So you can't really say that if you use that definition of death.
Well, there's also an interesting scientific point to this, the law of conservation of energy. Okay, Rakesh, which you're totally familiar with. The thing is, energy just transforms into other forms of energy. So the real issue is this: do you really die? If your energy is just transformed into another form of energy, and if the law of conservation of energy really exists, because if it does exist, then you can't die. It's impossible.
No,
You may be transformed, but you can't die. Scientifically, I'm telling you, Rakesh, scientifically, mate.
In terms of mass and energy, you're absolutely right. But in terms of who a person is, we go into the realms of consciousness, and that link between consciousness and the brain is still a really gray area. And if you say that a person, when we say you, is your consciousness and not just a bunch of atoms and molecules that you're made of, then that's a completely different ball game. So you can perhaps die, but it's that you that I'm talking about when you say you're remembered by people, the people you interact with. Sometimes you leave a legacy in the form of book or video or whatever on the internet, but that can live on.
Isaac Newton's still alive. But I as a Papa pseudo intellectual, I understand Nick and Rakesh.
Okay, we need the resident pseudo intellectual.
I want to hear from Coach Kumar about this issue.
Okay.
Okay, so this is not an issue, first of all.
Okay.
We all have our own thought processes and our own belief systems. So what Nick is saying and what you are saying, Jim, are completely correct. It's just that Nick is projecting things in more tangible way, where we can see things, feel things, touch things. And what you are talking is in more non-tangible way, where we can just project it. And as we discussed it a lot of time, the law of attraction, as Nick was saying that a year ago, he just has this vision in his head that, okay, I will take IBM TV to this platform or this level. And now we are there today. How does that happen? In that moment, it was not tangible, but it was just a projection of the consciousness, of the intention that, yes, I want to do it. And so as he was saying that, where do I see myself after a year? I cannot tell you a place or a room where I will be sitting, but overall, what will be happening in my life, I can project that for next 5 years, for next 10 years. And that's what we call that, bringing the future to your present, making it true. So that's how I see it.
Yeah. And one thing. Yeah, go on, Rakesh.
Nobody.
Sorry.
How many people projected the coronavirus? Nobody.
Bill Gates did.
Yeah, nobody.
Time out. Bill Gates landed this right on a TED Talk 5 years ago. So it wasn't like this wasn't projected or thought out. He actually had this thing all scoped out 5 years. And now they're blaming some people here are blaming the coronavirus on him. It's got to be his fault because he figured it out. Ultimate irony. But he actually did, because he has a lot of time. He's kind of retired from Microsoft, and he's a bright guy. So he spent some time looking at where would be the biggest threat to humanity. Did a whole TED Talk on it. He said it's going to be a pandemic from some weird. There it is. He got the thing. Okay, so he already outlined that, and then our leaders in 2018 got rid of our pandemic task force. So it was wiped out by our current leadership in 2018, totally ignoring Mr. Gates, because he sits over in Medina. He's totally ignored. Poor guy.
He went and visited Trump in 2016 to warn him.
But no one listens to him. Okay, no. You started Microsoft worth $100 billion. You gave it away. Who cares what you say anymore? So they stuck his little butt away, and they totally ignored it. But also, if we project next year, this time, coronavirus is going to be basically under control or gone. I figure in the next 6 months, we're going to see this thing dribble down to next to nothing.
Well, who believes this is the only pandemic we're going to have?
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
so-
yeah. See okay. Now that is another issue. In other words, whether or not there's a mutant strain, another strain like a hurricane or something else takes place, and do we have procedures in place to mitigate the next potential pandemic? And this is where hopefully we will learn from. In other words, change the way our behavior when something like that occurs again, because I believe that could happen, Jim.
Well,
but
I think
right now,
Europe is
this will be
changing.
under
I think
control next
Japan
year.
is changing. I'm not sure about the United States. What lessons have we learned?
We don't learn anything here. It's not going to happen. We're land of the free.
I have manifested things into reality that were just in my head. So I know this process that Nick is talking about is actually true. Not everything that manifests in my or occurs in my head is manifested in reality, but I've seen it happen often enough to know for a fact that I can make things happen when they're just an idea, and I can turn them into reality. This is a true statement, because
he even wrote a book, Chess for Dummies. It's world famous.
And that was just in my head before, but and I made that happen because I found the publisher and I pitched it to the publisher. They asked for a sample chapter. I wrote them a sample chapter. They asked for another. I wrote another, and they gave me a contract. But it wasn't them coming to me. It was me coming to them. Right. I made that happen. Yeah. And nobody else. There might have been better chess writers out there. I'm sure that there are, but no one else thought of it. So that was a manifestation of my initiative.
Or the key thing is you took the initiative. And see one problem that I've seen out there, just in people in general, they tend not to take that initiative. In other words, they don't realize in our industry there was an old saying: if it's going to be, it's up to me. Okay, because no one's going to do it for you. In other words, the platforms are there, but you're the one who has to take the initiative. And so you took the initiative. And now here's what happens also that I've seen, and I don't know if you've done this, Jim. Then when Jim goes to talk to a reporter about Chess for Dummies, he'll change it around. He'll say Chess for Dummies approached me, and I decided to do the book for him. Okay, and here's the reason they'll justify it, Jim. Originally, you approached them, but eventually they had to approach you with a contract, right?
Yes. Okay,
so then you just admit the first part that you took initiative and just say, well, Chess for Dummies approached me, and I decided to do a book for them. And they don't see the first part. And I will tell you, people do that over and over and over again in business and everywhere. They go something because they can pound their head. Oh yeah, Chess for Dummies approached me, not realizing that it was really your own initiative that got everything started. And that's just the nature of the human beast out there. But with coronavirus, I believe, starting next year will be basically gone. Or at least subside. And that's part of the reason we started Ibm Tv, putting different programming together. It's because originally we were just going to discuss coronavirus every day. But I was telling Ankit and Kim, I said, look, this thing will eventually go away and we better have different programming, because this ain't going to last. Coronavirus, unfortunately, will, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, it's going to be gone. It's just, there'll be new treatments, which we've already seen. Treatments are coming out and their treatments are better. We're going to see the vaccine. Vaccines are already here. We already know that, but they're going through clinical trials to make sure. And there was one thing on YouTube, you take the vaccine, it creates so many antibodies, it makes you sick and it kills you. Okay, and so one guy was touting that, you don't want to take a vaccine because the vaccine will create so many antibodies. It has a pathogenic problem. And I don't know if you've seen this, Rakesh, that it goes into your body and then it kills you.
I didn't say that because I would have laughed at least once.
Oh, really? Okay. But the thing is, he actually, hey, listen, it's on the internet. He actually did have some anecdotal evidence where that actually did take place. In other words,
generalized from an N of 1. Yes.
Yeah, right. In other words, he actually did have, not this particular one, but he had some other ones where that actually did take place, where they would inject somebody with a vaccine. That's the reason you do clinical trials. And the person's body would keep producing the antibody and eventually kill them, with the thing that they produce. So he had some incidental evidence on that.
There's always the exception that proves the rule.
Yes, the exception, where there's a grain of sand. The grain of sand is infected, which means the rest of it is bad. I mean, and that's kind of what's out there. But my humble opinion is that they're all fake meatball. In other words, by the time you go through a clinical trial with a certain demographic group, you can reasonably rely that the vaccine will work. But here's what we cannot know. We know the vaccine will work right now. Do we know the long-term effect of coronavirus? How is that going to affect you 20 years from now? There's no way we could know. You see what I mean? It's just like cigarettes. Okay,
we haven't
cigarettes.
done long-term studies because we haven't had time.
Yeah, it's because you don't have the long-term to do the long-term studies. So there will always be an unknown quantity out there. Yes, we'll turn to the scientific brain.
There's another aspect to this because we're looking at medicine as if we've traditionally looked at medicine, which is discover a molecule and it does the greatest effect for the greatest number of people. But we are soon heading to a trend of where medicine will be genetics oriented. So they would look at your individual genome, your individual genetic composition, and say that this class of medicines will work for you. At some stage, the science will develop to a point where each person has an individually tailored medicine for them. So, and it won't be all that difficult. So,
I totally agree. Totally agree.
So, when you look at that, you're going to have definitely a decrease in these kind of anecdotal reactions, because people will know, they will be able to predict that this person, as I said once before on this program, people have died of paracetamol too. So that's there. It's a quirk of their individual, genetics, and with the future of medicine, more based on your genetic or your DNA. To make make a long story short, then you will find less and less of this kind of freak, occurrences. And with that, let
me go back to Coach Kumar and ask you, Reiki, I know for a fact from my experience, can be healing, but can it heal something like COVID?
Intention and energy can, but that will take a lot of efforts from all the channels across the globe sitting together at one time and praying, which we did in India for a couple of months, like initial 2-3 months we did that. But as Nick was saying, that if you do not add up things, then suddenly the foundation of it falls away. Then people started leaving; they would not join, and things were happening. But yes, if you do it together, and Reiki is not just like a medicine or a tablet that you take it. It's a discipline of life, and if everyone would have done that, we would not be having any coronavirus. And as Nick was also saying, and I was showing that picture of the TVs of pandemic. So it talks about different sort of viruses, that how animal virus jumps into humans. And there is a company which has made a vaccine, which was in human trials, which covers viruses from last 100 years. And it's going to cover a couple of more for next 100 years. And guess what? That project is funded by Bill Gates.
Only Bill. But the thing is, Ms. Kumar, there may be some powers out there that we still don't fully understand. And I know Rakesh, being a scientific guy, we understand all forms of power. But I'm not sure if that's really true, because the thing is, there's some things out there and you call them spiritual, that we just still don't have a handle on. If Rakesh could scientifically quantify and show me when the beginning of time was, I certainly would appreciate it. And if he can show me when the end of time will take place, I would appreciate that too, as well as the beginning and end of the universe. Okay, I'm all for it.
But you can imagine it.
What?
You can imagine.
But you see, there's a little problem here.
I know,
okay?
I can.
Yeah, and the thing is, there may be some powers in the universe that we just really still do not have a handle on, and perhaps we just don't really know that much about, and that even shows up in science, because they discover, oh look, we discovered this, we didn't even know this existed anymore. In other words, all of a sudden, science as it reaches out starts discovering more and more things that they don't even know about right now, and I think that's what's also going to take place in the next decade or two. We're going to start discovering things that we just don't know about right now. We would like to and pretend that we know everything about everything. We don't. When you get
19th century.
Yeah, but when you get to the coronavirus and science, see, here's one problem I see. When it came out, we have a lot of brilliant scientists, and I've met them. They're the MD, PhDs who can do like what he just said, take your genetic composition and modify a drug that suits that particular gene. It just takes some time to do it. Now, when coronavirus came out, we have brilliant scientists who can work on that and eventually find a vaccine. The problem is we have a lot of spoiled brats out there, aka Americans for the most part, okay, that's like this. Child, give me a little time so I can get the Band-Aid together. I don't want to. I'm not going to do anything. And what happens is they end up dying. And I think the MD PhDs go, okay, listen, it's your life, buddy. And so what happens is we have a lot of spoiled brats in the United States. And they're crying and complaining. They're almost throwing a temper tantrum, about, I got to wear a mask. I don't want to wear a mask. And they've even done studies that do have a lot of scientific support. That if you wear a mask, I wear a mask, reduces probabilities down to 1.7%. You wear a mask, I wear a mask. 85% of coronavirus will be contained. Yet we still have people that say, I don't want to wear a mask to my freedoms. We need to send our kids to school so they can infect each other. We don't know what's going on. I mean, and so I have one word for it: stupid. Okay, it's just stupid. And so the thing is, and the media here in the U.S. doesn't seem to have a handle on anything. They're as bad as the politicians. They serve up the Kool-Aid just like everybody else. Kool-Aid, they use that term because somebody drank it in South America and they all died. What?
Jamestown.
Yeah, Jamestown. Yeah, right, Jim. They drank it in Jamestown. They all died. But in reality, what happens is there's unbelievably here a complete lack of leadership, lack of science. It's almost like we throw science out the door. Politicians are paraded around like they know everything. They don't know jack. Okay, and rather than what I want to see the doctors. I want to see the MD, PhDs, and there are a lot of them out there. The real virologists and epidemiologists, the people that work the area. Now, part of the reason we have a hard time getting on IBM TV. What's the problem right now, Ankit, with the medical doctors getting on?
They're all sick.
They're either sick or they're busy. In other words, that's the real problem.
So if you ask me the cases of yesterday, so we reported around 62,000 cases in India yesterday, and most doctors are busy. And also, I got a call, and I was backstage talking to doctors basically. A lot of doctors are not in a position to come online and talk, and a lot of doctors have, fatigue issue, and they are also not fully fit. A lot of them are still at hospital, and a lot of them are struggling with their power and monsoon and cable issues in India, because if you talk to doctors in South India or Central India, there's a lot of flood and a lot of things going around, so they don't have that bandwidth to come online. So there's a multiple things going around in India, during the pandemic. So, I'm trying to get in touch with them, but it's difficult to have them right now. In fact, the Ayurveda doctor, he's supposed to join us. So they have a power failure suddenly, and he's not able to join.
Yeah.
But Nick, let me say this, because you and I and Rakesh we can talk to each other almost every day. But I want to ask Coach Kumar. I'm going to say something to her about my experience, because she asked you about your going into a group and you could spot people right away that you were attracted to and people that you weren't. I'm going to share something that you're going to tease me about later. But I used to, when I was younger, go into a room like that and I would pick up on people's anxiety and I would feel their anxiety and I would become anxious myself. And so this led me to avoid people getting into situations where I would feel other people's anxiety. And then I learned a coping technique where I could dim that anxiety and from a roar to a low buzz. And I was able to function. And then later in life, I've learned more about how to handle that so that I don't absorb their energy. There's a little, I called it an eggshell around me where the energy cannot penetrate it. So I can still sense it, but it doesn't affect me. I do not become agitated by the anxiety of people around me. So tell me a little bit about my experience when I was younger, going into a group and picking up on that anxiety. How does that physically happen? Because I know it happens, but how? Why? And can I measure it? Can I detect it? That's to you, Coach Kumar.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I just got into your what you were sharing. I was actually feeling what you were sharing. That happens when you are into a lot of when we talk about empaths. So when you have a lot of empathy for other people, you can sense their energy, what they're going through, and that's why this is one of the reason why we choose to become a healer or a therapist or a coach, because we know. I'll tell you my personal story. I always wanted to be a doctor because back then I didn't know there's something called healer or a therapist or something like that. I wanted to become a doctor, but somehow I developed the fear of blood. So everyone in my family said that when you go in your medical studies, they will ask you to cut a dead body just to learn the anatomy of the body and stuff. How will you treat your patient if a patient comes with a broken bone or some scars on their head? You will faint. So then I put that aside. I felt what you're saying, that when you are when you have empathy for other people, you sense what they are feeling, and you cannot describe it in a way or measure it that how much do you do it, but you do. And as you said it pretty beautifully, and I call it a crystal dome. So I learned it from one of my master coaches, Brandon, that we create a crystal dome around us, that only positive energy comes in. We still feel, we still sense everything, but those negative energy doesn't affect us anymore. That's how I felt it, and that's how I say that we cannot measure it, but yes, we can just feel it, that it's around us.
Yeah. So if a scientist came to me and he said, "Well, this is a phenomenon you cannot detect, let alone measure, so therefore it doesn't exist," what should I say to that scientist?
Just smile at them.
Okay.
Don't say anything. That's a good one.
Yes. That's a hard one for me. But that is a discipline that I must learn to master.
Yeah, Jim, you have one kind of problem. For me, I was totally, the opposite. I'm very, while I'm very observant about natural phenomena, I'm very, very unobservant about interpersonal phenomena. Wouldn't notice what another person's feeling, and sort of my focus was always on what is actually happening around in the room, but not bothering about what people feel about what is happening. Just focus on the facts. Grew up
Yeah. So,
on the assumption that nature will tell you what is, nature is more interesting than people. So I didn't really observe people. So one of the most
that happens in 4 different ways how we feel people. One is kinesthetic, which you are not completely not, Rakesh. One is kinesthetic way where we feel people, okay, or you feel anything, or even when you speak, you said, "Oh, it felt so good." Even when you're touching a texture or of a cloth, when you're buying it, so no, it feels very good, I should buy this. Then there are auditory people who hears a lot, and when you talk to them, they say sounds good, or that sounded good to me. It sounds like a good plan. So sounds or anything which is with hearing. Then there are visual people, which I think, Rakesh, you are into the visual side of it. So, there are visual people who will say, oh, that looks good. They have to see things physically if they want to buy it or have the possession of it. Then there are auditory digital people, which I believe that you are too much into it, which take the judgments on based on data. What is the data? What is the number? So if I want to go and buy a phone, I will not see the phone. I will not hear what video is talking about it. I will just go to the star rating, that what people have given the data to it. Okay, durability 4-star, cost effective 5-star. Okay, all these star matches up to my data point. Okay, I will buy it. So these are the 4 categories how we process the first shot of information with us. So we are in the kinesthetic zone, Jim. So because of that, we feel it a lot. And as you said, that you missed your hugs a lot during this pandemic.
Yes.
And Rakesh said no, he didn't miss it at all. So because
Right.
he's not kinesthetic, and it's not right or wrong, it's just how you process
That's
the
different.
information.
Right.
Yeah, it's just how you process the input. That's all it is. So I put on, like, on working, I put on my headphones, and on the background on a different browser, I will complete an entire series, not the audio series, it's a video series, but I don't watch it. I just hear it, and the series is completed for me. Because I'm more auditory, kinesthetic auditory. So there's a base nature, and then there's a supporting nature, which you jump time to time.
And I have a couple of questions about that, is because I think I have the visual and kinetic. Okay, I don't know what we're looking at.
Trump.
Oh, then I don't want to look at it. But my other question is that, if, say, you're talking about touch, but these people's, the anxiety that I feel from them, they could be across the room, so I'm not touching them. So how is that transmitted?
So with the energy, that's what I'm saying. Kinesthetic people are more who feel, and you can feel it even from distance.
Yes.
You remember our conversation the other day? We were just talking about a few things, and we talked about the sunflower, how they react, how they behave.
Yes.
So they are not touching each other, but still they are
Right.
giving and transferring the energy to each other.
Yes.
That's how it happens.
And that energy, it may be, for Rakesh's sake, could we call that energy a wave? It's the energy is going through from one by wavelengths.
My definition of a wave is that it should have a quantifiable variation in time, a regular, repetitive, quantifiable variation in time. If it's not that, it's not a wave.
But what if it is, but you just can't measure it yet?
Okay, Jim, I have a question.
I'm open to that. Where we can't measure it, it's possible. I mean, there are so many things that we couldn't measure earlier.
Right.
Like X-rays and things like that. We didn't know they existed. We didn't know how to measure it. Maybe one day we can measure neutrino waves or some kind of particle, which today we're not aware of. I'm open to that. I'm got nothing against it. Only thing is that when I call it a wave, I should have identified the thing and then say it is a wave. If I can't identify the thing, I can't say it's a wave. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm just speculating.
It might exist. It may well exist. I'm not denying its existence, and that's why I'm saying I have an open mind about Reiki.
Yes. And I just wanted to ask Coach Kumar, could that be? Because I'm kind of trying to interpret it in a way to make it understandable to me, because I know it happens. I know it does. So how could it happen? And is it possible that the radiation of the energy is something that we could quantify one day if we had the right technology? Do you think that's possible?
Yes, it is possible because there's a lot of researches going on. When you go online, a lot of research papers are not available online to read. You have to physically go to their centers and read them because, of course, a lot of government also stops all these papers, research papers, if
Oh,
from
yes.
publishing.
Right.
So there's a lot of research going on. Then how and you remember we discussed about a case where a lady was in a different room and her vitals became identical to her
Oh, yes.
husband.
Yes, you talked about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how did that happen? No
Right.
doctors have any evidence to it, but it happened. So we will be able to measure that one day because a lot of researches are going on, a lot of theories and studies and everything is going on. So one day we might be able to do it. Um, but my one question I have is that why we all are trying to just make it like explain it to Rakesh. In the first
Yeah.
instance, into it, but still we all are just like, no, 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 Rakesh has to understand this. So why is
No,
that happening?
I'm trying to understand it. It's also
Yeah.
for me. Yes. Because I identify with what Kesh is saying so much. I just, I have this part of my brain that has to make sense of it in a way that I can understand it. And not just, I know it happens, but it's hard for me just to accept it. I know it's happening. I feel it. And it's genuine because when I touch bases with that person, they are anxious. So it's not just me making it up in my mind and projecting it onto them. It's a vibe that I'm picking up that they're sending out. And how is it happening? I can't say. And I just want, for my own sake, not just for Kesha's sake, to understand it. And I don't know if that's
I
even.
understood it. I was just saying it in a way that it's funny for everyone. So,
Yes.
So the
in India, we talk a lot about good vibe and bad vibe. I don't get a good vibe from that person, and that's why I don't want to go to their houses. And I often call it about a couple of my relatives. They were like relatives, and I didn't want to go to their houses. And I used to just tell to my father, I don't want to go to them. I don't get a good vibe, and I wouldn't be able to explain it because I didn't know what that means. But I would
Right.
just say, "मुझे वहाँ जाके अच्छा नहीं लगता. I don't feel good when I go there." And they were obviously pretending to be nice to us. They would serve us cold drink and samosas and all the snacks and everything. But still, I didn't want it to go there. And then when I learned about all of this, it's like people emit a lot of energy in a different way, where you feel it. You can just feel it. You don't have any word to express it, but you know it that yeah, this is
Yes.
something which is happening.
And is it sufficient for me to just accept it? I don't have to
Yeah,
understand it.
you will understand it when it's the right time for you to understand. Because when you put a lot of whys and what and how, then you're blocking the awareness to flow in.
Thank you.
Can I share something with you? I was working in Rwanda, and somebody in my family was not well, and um, I think it was my mother, and my sisters didn't want to tell me because I was far away in a country. But WhatsApp wasn't so common at that time, and just after the operation, there was some operation that she had. I called up. I happened to call up from Rwanda and spoke to my sister, and she said, the operation went off very well. And I said, what operation? you know, and she said, it's that one occasion, but several occasions, at least two or three occasions where I've just felt that I need to call up, because I've lived in different parts of the world from my family, and I've called up at the moment when there has been some crisis. I have no explanation for that. I don't know why I call up at that time. I have no idea. And I'm continents away. They were in India, I was in Africa, and it happened even when I was in New Zealand. So I have no explanation. So I know that sometimes you have these things, this phenomenon, and it goes beyond a coincidence, but it's there. So this is an experience. I can't explain it, but it's there.
I also wanted to share one thing. Nick, you need to unmute. We can't hear you. Or check your mic plug, something basically. So when we talk
This
about
thing here.
spiritual attachment and maybe attachment with the humans and all those stuff, as Anandji said that we got good vibes and we got bad vibes. I got attached to my my things or my products, maybe my pen, maybe if I'm very emotional about my pen or maybe my phone or a laptop, which I own it or which I generally use it for day-to-day purposes, and it's kind of an emotion contact somehow. I don't know why. So if I lose my pen, it's difficult for me to concentrate on a work. So I make sure either I feel that I have lost it, I have to accept it, and then I move on. If I think that I can find it out, so I always think about where should I find it out. And it's not just about pen; it's about a lot of things, small things, and that gives me a lot of pleasure and a lot of peace as well. And that is also kind of gives me strength or maybe positivity that I have all my ornaments or I have all my accessories to be ready for the war or whatever it is. So I keep sure that my accessories are there. Otherwise, I don't. Go out or whatever it is. And when I see a lot of people, they forgot like small things, and I was like, how? I don't know how can it be possible because they forgot their pens or they forgot their handkerchief or they forgot their watches and maybe mobile phones. And in fact, now during COVID, I have read a lot in the news that a lot of people, because of the pandemic, they are moving from one place to the other. A lot of people have forgot their suitcases and also their childs. And I can't believe that how it can happen basically. So that surprised me. So is it something related to the spiritual power or energy or something, or is it just OCD or some kind of a?
Okay. Okay. So Ankit, when you have all of your things and it gives you that you have all your ornaments and all your weapons to go on a war, does that also give you a sense of control?
Yeah.
You have your answer.
I mean to say, is it normal for everyone, or is it just like few people? That's the same thing.
There are few chosen ones, but yes, it's completely normal. My brother is your kind.
Ankit is the chosen one, in case you guys don't know. So just
so we can elaborate as a gifted one basically. That's what we learned from Julian yesterday.
we learned what from Julian?
Gifted.
One.
Yeah.
No. Julian is the gifted one. Ankit is the chosen one. It's a different skill set.
Well, Nick, I've thinking about this term "gifted," and I prefer the term "outlier" because it means.
Oh, you mean deviant? Is that what you want to use? Because
deviant is
you're in the third standard deviation. You're a deviant. Okay, so Julian, if you're listening to this, Jim has just called you a deviant. Okay, right. See, I'm learning from the other party.
Yeah. But just remember this. I mean, since Jim's from the Socialist Republic of Northern California, he's familiar with a lot of deviants. So
that's true. They have that's the whole country of Silicon Valley. So they have
an outlier. There's a whole book on outliers.
That's true. Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, remember they call it third standard deviation. So you become deviant.
That's
and see, the thing is, if you're on one end of the tail, you're a deviant. You're the other end of the tail is a deviant. He's just a deviant. That's all, But he's the gifted one as opposed to Ankit, who's the chosen one.
But there's a bell curve, right? And so most people are around. Most people feel comfortable with each other.
Because they gravitate toward them.
They like each other.
Right.
And the people that are the outliers feel very alone sometimes.
They're mutants is what they are. I mean, they're deviant is what they are.
They could be deviant.
Julian, if you're listening to this, just
so Nick, did you just call Jim a third standard deviant?
No, I wouldn't go that far with Jim. I mean, he's trying to find his way in out of the first standard deviation, let alone second or third. Matter of fact, he doesn't even know what the standard deviation is because
there's a lot of judgment going on here.
That's true. That's true. Well, we got to have some judgment here, but we also have to have some reality base, which, as you know, IBM TV is not based on reality. For those who watch other programs, I mean, there's some other programs like The Bachelor, I think, is on tonight. They have all sorts of weird programs on major media.
Reality TV.
Reality TV. You can see Kim Kardashian going to Tampa. I watched that. That was the only show I ever watched. I mean, if you want to watch an incredibly stupid show. Watch the Kardashians. I don't know if you guys get those in India and Hong Kong.
No, never seen such a show.
Oh Lord, are
Either.
you kidding me?
I've never seen one.
It's
I
too
haven't
bad.
either.
I thought we export all our bad ideas. We send McDonald's over there. We don't send our reality TV shows over there. Okay, we should send them over. They're just absolutely
No,
okay. But
the
We
country
don't
is
want
too much for me.
so we don't want any more shows.
you don't want to watch these shows, Ankit? I thought you had
We have
500 channels over there. Don't you have 500
we have
channels?
reality shows in India as well. Every day we have a political reality show and a lot of other shows going around. So we don't want more
That's a
shows from either.
circus. That's a circus on the
You
television.
have a circus show? Okay, there he is. There's Jim's favorite person. His name is Donald. Okay, and he's meeting a couple of his other favorite people. Does he have anything to say? Let's hear him. Can we hear what he has to say? Oh, this is our leadership. Okay. What is he saying?
Just see that lady. She's so happy about what you said.
I don't know, but they're all in agreement. Okay, they're all happy, which is a good thing, because usually they don't all like each other up there. But here's what they're doing, because they're not making decisions up there. 40 million Americans are going to go into foreclosure on their house and become homeless if they don't get their act together in DC. I'm not kidding. 40 million people. Now, in India word, that's not that big. But can you imagine if they make the whole city of New Delhi homeless overnight? That's how big it is. I mean, it's a pretty big number, maybe even by Indian standards.
But if that happens, people will block the barricades and they cover Delhi, and then they won't allow anyone to enter Delhi.
Yeah, no, that's true. See, here's what I would do if they don't get their act together. Everybody who gets kicked out of their house in the United States should go to Washington D.C. and set up their homeless shelters there.
But they'll be pepper sprayed.
Oh, yeah, that's true. They would be. But see, the thing is, they're kind of used to that.
We need an asylum visa, I think. We all need to apply for asylum visa, and then we can enter US.
I want to apply to asylum in Canada.
You guys don't want to enter here until we get our act together, and I don't know when that's going to happen. But we do have one group that does have to have their act together. It's called the Dollar Store, who's a sponsor of Ibm Tv. Notice how I segued in
What
that.
a segue.
Okay, segued in.
What a segue.
Well, the thing is, you have to give what do you call it, homage to your sponsor. Okay, so the thing is, we do have the Dollar Store as our sponsor. Now, the problem is they're not in India, they're not in China, and they're not in India yet. Okay, so that limits our audience, because when we get people coming in from like Malaysia, hello from Malaysia, we can't sell to them, which is really awful. But it is what it is. Hello from Malaysia. But in the meantime, we'll give our friend Lynn Shepard, who's with the Family Dollar Store, a preview of the future in India, Hong Kong, and Malaysia, otherwise known as the Dollar Store. This is a preview of the future.
Yes, and I want to say goodbye to Coach Kumar. Wish I'd had a chance to participate with her before she left, but it's always fun seeing Coach Kumar. Anyway, my name is Lynn Shepard. I actually learned how to read, so it is on the screen. Every day at my age, I look at the telephone and I turn it on in the morning because I can't remember my name. So this is how I find out. Anyway, our family owns an online dollar store, the Family Dollar Store, which we call, and our website is family.dollarstore.com. So people can go on to IBM TV's website, click the big round button, become customers, because it is an online store and it is green. And we'll get to that in a second. But why is our store on IBM TV? And the simple reason is this, that we are supporting the mission of Money Masters PBS, which owns IBM TV. We love the mission. It's to provide, basically reduce the gap between poverty and financial sustainability by providing financial education and financial fitness. So we love that mission, and an online dollar store is a great way to do that, because, and I usually have to call on my friend Jim to help me here, because I know there are a bunch of reasons. So Jim, number one is because we stay safe at home, but if we have to go out, we can get a bunch of masks, okay, that we can wear when we go out. But if you order from the online dollar store, you don't have to go out. You don't have to take the risk of getting COVID. You can get these triple ply masks. The good news is that you're going to save money, because where can you get these masks, Jim, any cheaper than this? $25 for 50 masks, and and that's what, Jim?
50 cents a mask.
50 cents a mask. Boy, thank goodness you're here today. So the other thing is we also have gift tokens. And when anybody becomes a customer, they get $5 worth of gift tokens. So they go on the site, they order 50 masks for $25, apply the gift token, get your phone out, Jim, because you got to figure it out. Now it's only going to cost them $20. So how much is a mask now?
40 cents.
40 cents a mask. Wonderful. Okay, that's fantastic. So and we deliver for free for orders of $25 or more. So why not go on the site, have it delivered to your home for free, unless you live in the small town here in Pennsylvania that I live in, where we don't have delivery. But that's okay. But here's the interesting thing. So if you live outside of the United States, because right now we only deliver within the United States, but if you live outside the United States, you can become a customer. You can still become a customer. You're going to get $5 worth of gift tokens, and through the end of the month of August, because you signed up in the month of August through IBM TV, we are going to give you an additional $5 worth of gift tokens. So now you have $10 worth of, they're like gift cards, just like you get at CVS, Target, Macy's, whatever the stores are that have gift cards. But you can get some of these great products. And some of the new products we have, look at that. We have coffee filters. That really excited Kimberly the other day when she saw that. We also have a bunch of new CBD items. We have some. Jim's very familiar with one, and I'm concerned that he's going to buy us out. But it's called the CBD Extreme Patch with 4% lidocaine. Because, you know, for those of you who haven't been on the show before, Jim is a chess player, and he's a master chess player. But unfortunately, he has to play Sasha, and Sasha gets him all the time. So Jim knows he's going to have pain before he even starts playing, so he'll put it on his head because as Kimberly says, if you know you're going to have pain, make sure that you treat it beforehand. So Jim puts a patch on his head, then he plays Sasha, and he won't have the pain that he was going to have because he put the patch on his head. Now, as we also know, moving those chess pieces can be very stressful on the arm. And so Jim puts it on his arm to be able to reduce the fact that he might get tendonitis in his arm from moving those big chess pieces. So, you know, and we're glad that we're here to help Jim through his chess games with Sasha. But look at all the other stuff we have. They're name brand products. As Jim likes to say, they're not cheap, and they aren't. They're quality products. From people like Johnson & Johnson and Fisher Price and Dove soap and Dial soap and Jim's favorite Irish Spring soap, okay? We have huge savings. There's some items that ladies use to get rid of the lines that are in their face. Now, we know that Kimberly is very attuned to this because if you look at Kimberly, she has no lines in her face. But one of the items that we have is an identical product that Amazon has. They sell it, same quantity, same product. They sell it on Amazon for $67 and $4 worth of shipping. and we sell it for $4.99. So that if you were to buy that line reducer and the masks, it's like buying the line reducer for free because you can use your gift tokens. There it is. It's Genesis Solutions Line Free Lift. Okay. We also have, the ladies like to use the face masks for their faces. And I know Kimberly says it costs her around $25 when she goes to the store to buy the face masks over the counter. And again, we have them for $2. So there's lots of great savings. And think about it, because the mission of Money Masters PBS is financial fitness and financial education. So what are we doing here? We're showing people that they can save money, and they can save lots of money. When they do save money, because also they don't have to go out and spend the money on gas to drive to the stores. They stay home, they order, save money on the products, save money by not going out, okay? Then they have more money to use to pay for the things they have to buy. They also have money to be able to save, okay? And of course, as Kimberly likes to say, money to be able to use to pay taxes, because everybody must make sure that they pay their taxes. But then they have money to pay forward to support their charity that they choose, which I would hope would be Money Masters PBS. But by buying on at family.dollarstore.com, people are actually supporting Money Masters PBS every time they make a purchase. So, Jim, we missed the most important thing, and Jim was ready for me. You need to order, and we're going to send these to Rakesh and to Ankit, and Dr. Tula, so that you can all join the club and have Minion napkins, so that you're part of the Minion Napkin Club. Everybody should join the club. And I'll tell you, I love getting on Fridays because I love listening to Dr. Tula talk. He has such great wisdom. And I'm going to tell you the one thing that I've heard Dr. Tula say that everybody ought to take to heart: women are smarter than men. Isn't that right, Dr. Tula? Isn't that what you say?
So you will have men's lobby gunning for me now.
Well, the NRA is in big trouble in New York City, New York State.
The married guys will second me because they will not have a choice to differ from my opinion, but the other guys will be gunning after me.
Well,
the single men will come after you.
We won't let that happen. So anyway, it's so great to see you, Dr. Tula. You know, Nick, let me say this before Dr. Tula comes on. That's the great thing about IBM TV, because IBM TV has some wonderful people who come on from around the world and have different shows. We talked about Sasha. Sasha Starr has two shows, okay? One on investment and one on chess. And he actually has some great rewards. Jim has a chess program that he runs on Tuesdays. Mark Lee has a program that he runs. Zach has a program that he runs on music. Alexandra May, who's Jim's heartthrob, she has a show from South Africa on Sundays. And then on Fridays, we have it's medical day, and Dr. Tula comes on. And aren't we blessed to have the opportunity to have so many people from around the world, because IBM TV has such a great reach from around the world. So we're really appreciative. And in fact, we even go to the Socialist Republic of Northern California.
Silicon Valley. Yeah, and earlier this morning there was a show from Lagos, Nigeria, that's on every Friday at 9 o'clock Eastern time.
Mind Closet.
Okichuku.
Yeah.
I've even learned how to pronounce his name. Okichuku.
Old dogs can learn new tricks.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah, and it's beamed out of Lagos, Nigeria. And yes,
we are working on
from South Africa. Yeah, Ankit.
we are working on a couple of more shows from Africa basically, and Adifa would be doing a show with us where we'll be talking about black heroes, because there are a lot of black people who are heroes, and they need more heroes during this time. Whatever happened with Black and White and with the Lloyd person, and then so she will be doing or she will be showcasing a lot of black heroes around the world and talking to them and getting them a good platform so that we can talk about their views and all, because that community is still untouched. I mean, there are like people who are right here, and then there are like people who are right down below. So there is no middle level people in black. I mean, either they are too popular with good money, or they are like bottom down the road basically.
That
So
sounds
we are
like the United States.
Yeah.
Okay. Ankit, also we have some Malaysian specials coming up, don't we?
Yes.
In a show from Malaysia. Tell us
Sharif?
about that, Malaysia.
So
with Sharif.
we'll be starting our Malaysian series this Sunday at 8 a.m. EST, and then we are starting a couple of new shows with the World Economic Forum hosted by Sharif from Malaysia, and we are also working on a show called Beauty with Irene, which will be soon on Ibm TV, maybe August end of September onwards. And then there is one show about Malaysian tourism that's also on the cards. And we are coming up with a couple of travel shows on Tuesday, Travel Tuesday, with Brandon, with Vivian, with other people around the world. So a lot more to catch up on IBM TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, doesn't Vivian do a show about China every week, also at Wednesday?
So she's doing a Wednesday show, but we are shifting the show to Tuesday because we can have that travel lineup for.
Travel Tuesday. Yeah. Okay, so Vivian's China is going to be on Travel Tuesday then. Okay, that's good.
Not opposite my chess show, I hope.
Your chess show is being destroyed.
Yes, I can't stand the competition.
No, it's just like all the shows.
Oh, the pain, Jim.
the pain.
I'll tell you what is the plan of IBM TV. We have to run multiple parallel shows, maybe down the line in a couple of years, because we are running like 7, 8, 10 channels parallelly. That means there are 7, 8 shows parallelly running. I mean, so that's the plan. But right now we are not overbooking a lot of shows. But sometimes what happens is that because we are not working like mainstream media, so if you have 1 hour, generally what happens is that people extend that 1 hour to 2 hours, which happened in today's Nigeria show, because we started at 9 a.m. and then show almost ended up at 11 a.m. EST. So if the show is going good, if the flow is good, if there's a good discussion going around, so we don't stop that show, we continue to run that show. So that's the case. But otherwise, I mean, there is no overlapping at this point of time. But in future, there will be a lot of overlapping as well, because we are doing a lot of shows in Hindi, Spanish, French, German, and Chinese, and in other languages. So that means a lot of overlapping will be there. But we are like 7.5 billion. We will give you 500,000 people for your chess to rest. We will take it for other shows.
The chosen one has spoken, otherwise known as P.T. Barnum. I mean, Ankit.
So I found out this week that Dr. Tula did some plastic surgery on Ankit because if you look at Ankit's picture on Messenger, it clearly and actually, Dr. Tula, you've made him look a whole lot better than he looks on TV.
And he looks good on TV.
The chosen one, yes. So Dr.
Iron Man.
How is the coronavirus? There it is.
There it is. Wow.
Good job, Dr. Tula.
Good job, Dr. Tula.
Great job.
Took care of Anka. So Dr. Tula, how is the coronavirus affecting India right now?
So in India, things are opening up. I mean, the economy has opened up quite a lot. So I mean, I won't say that we are out of the woods at the moment. So we need to be very, very careful. I mean, there are certain zones in our states in which the numbers have come down. For example, even in the national capital, we are more or less on the decline. But then these are very early days. So in certain states like the state of Maharashtra and other states like down south, we have Tamil Nadu and Andhra. There we have seen an increase in the number of cases. So it's a mixed bag.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we need to be very careful. That is the whole story around it. I mean, it just depends upon people. Like, honestly speaking, the disease is here to stay. It's the people who can, I mean, contribute and ensure that the lethality and the progress of this disease is halted. So
What about
ultimately, it is
vaccine?
you, me, common people. Yeah,
Yeah. What about
pardon.
vaccines? A vaccine has
So
India.
vaccine. Yeah, so we've started trials in stage 1, 2 of certain vaccines. So predominantly there are two vaccines which are being looked at in India. One is the Bharat Biotech vaccine, and the other is the Serum Institute vaccine of Pune. They are basically not developing the vaccine; they have the collaboration through which they are doing the trial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Oh, and
ultimately, they will go into production. Production to.
yeah, and Kit, you developed a new intro for the Med Friday. Do you
Yeah,
have that? Are you able to show that? Can you show
we'll be doing the we'll put it on the outro.
Okay.
that? Put it
We'll
on.
see it on the outro.
Oh, we're gonna do it on the outro. Oh, we can't get a preview ahead of time. Try and get a preview.
Yeah, I'm just doing the publishing basically. So it'll take some more time actually.
Oh, okay, all right. So we'll do it on the outro. Yeah. See, we're upgrading Dr. Tula, our programming. So we're gonna have a new intro, new outro for
I
Med
got to say,
Friday.
IBM TV is really growing. Not just in the number of shows, but in the quality of the shows.
Yeah, we're a work in progress.
See, Jim, you know why we are going, because we have quality of people like Dr. Tula, like Lynn, and like Jim around the
That's
world.
true. That's true.
IBM.
Yeah. Yeah.
Naturally,
Well,
The
Well,
privilege
I don't know
is
about
all
Dr.
ours. The privilege is really all ours.
well, the thing is, yeah, right now we're seeing around the world, which was the game plan anyway. Doesn't help Lynn any because he can only sell the Family Dollar store in the United States.
But we're going to fix that.
Yeah.
That's something for pain.
Yeah, I have something for pain. Yeah, Tish. Tish is another one who has a show, and that's great.
Yes.
Yeah, but people from all over the world generally know somebody in the United States. So when they do, they can sign up to be a customer, and they can send either order products from, say, India, but have them sent to the United States to somebody they know, or alternatively send the gift tokens to somebody. And we blocked Jim because he decided he wants to get all the gift tokens, and we're not going to let
I
him
can
get
use
all the gift tokens.
block Jim now.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
this way, the gift tokens though can go to anybody in the United States, but ultimately, the Family Dollar store, you guys are going to be in India, right? Is that what's
Correct.
planned?
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So they'll be able to do that. And the thing is, it has great products at very reasonable prices and good value, which is what we're looking at IBM TV, and also be able to help people, like you said, become financially stable. And then we even have an investing show with Sasha on Wednesday to help people learn how to do individual investing.
Right.
So they can do the individual investing by themselves. But Dr. Tula, what are we looking at though right now? What's the projections of the coronavirus in India? Is it still affecting your practice? Are you able to practice at all, or how's that working over there?
So we are being very conservative at the moment. Still, we have not opened up the entire practices all across. So there is a semblance towards normalcy going around. So we're trying to be as normal as possible. But honestly speaking, it's a tough ask to be, because we need to be very, very careful. We need to be very cautious in our approaches. I mean, see, ultimately it's a virus, and we all know that if you get infected, then it's a catch-22 situation, because you don't know how your body is going to react to it. What is the virulence of the strain which you're going to get? So these are also, it is always, prevention is always there in your mind, and ultimately you are always taking all precautions before venturing into, I mean, bigger surgeries or something. So maximum what happens nowadays is emergency surgeries are on. Even elective surgeries up to a certain level are on, but still people are very, very careful. I mean, we don't see that kind of, I mean, rush into hospitals the way it used to happen previously. So it's a good thing in that respect, that overcrowding is not there. So that's not a bad deal at all.
Mm-hmm. What about sending kids to school? Do the people are the kids going to school? in
No,
India?
no. At the moment, we are not sending us kids to school because one, the government has also not opened up the schools, and I personally, my take is that we should not rush this because we need to understand that. So this thing around with all the people who have been telling, they say generally the perception goes that kids the virus is not going to affect kids. But then there have been cases reported in other countries like England and where they have documented a different kind of disease pattern in kids, which may be ascribed to corona. Maybe the symptoms were different. So I mean, honestly speaking, you don't know too much about the virus before you decide to send in your kids to school. So I think it is going to be some time before the schools open. I don't think the government is going to open them. I mean, anytime near soon. Maybe there might be some schools up to some. I mean, when kids of age group who are in the I would say the teenage age group and above, they might think of opening schools at a staggered timing, but I'm not very sure whether they're going to do it immediately in the near
Hmm. Yeah, because the thing is, the schools could be like a petri dish for coronavirus, even though the kids
future. Yes,
become, they may not be affected too much, but they become asymptomatic, and then they deliver it to
correct.
their parents and their grandparents. So over here, they are opening some schools, but I
So
agree with you. I don't think they
there's a
can do
news about school. There was a policy released yesterday by the government of India that they are planning to open school from next month, but only for senior I mean classes, and that is also subject to what happened and how the August went off with the cases. But they are not going to open. I mean, for kindergarten or pre-primary, all. I mean, only for higher students basically who are like maybe in ninth and above basically. But they're working to plan up something for students because the structure in India is not easy and the students are not having. I mean, they're not ready to learn or there's a lot of things going around with the students basically. So they're working on a plan, but I believe that there should not be any school till the time we have one case because it's difficult to have kids doing the social distancing in the school. They sit together, they have a small room and all this stuff. So I think it's a difficult time, but government is working on something with that as well because there's a lot of pressure from a lot of people. But let's see how it goes.
It's a very complicated question because we have a lot of controversy in the United States about whether or not we should open, and there are a lot of teachers who don't want to be exposed. So the teachers are in a hard place now because if they don't show up, they don't get paid, and if they do show up, they risk their health.
In fact, I'll tell you, I had a word with one of the educators in US. She will be joining us on IBM TV soon. So she told me that the problem is that teachers are ready to come, but what will happen if the teachers will get coronavirus? How will they manage the students because they're like different age group of students, and if one teacher is not available, then who will run the class? So there's a lot of combination going around, and I think we just have to pass the time. So this is just happened in Kerala. I mean, one of the plane crashes and pilot died during this thing. It just
Wow.
happened just now, and there was a very, I mean, it's kind of a thunderstorm and monsoon in India. I'm not sure why it happened, but there might be something due to the bad weather or something like that. And then there was one case where a flight started from Dubai to India. They got the flight got skid away in the runway as well. So I'm not sure whether this is the same flight or it's a different flight, but this just happened right now.
Yeah, this happened about 6 months ago, 6 minutes ago, really. Air India and plane crashed in Calcutta after skidding off the runway. So it's kind of breaking news for the people that don't know that. Was anybody killed? There were 191 people on board in Kit.
Just waiting for the detailed news, but I know that this pilot got killed, but the rest we are waiting for the details.
Okay, yeah. So it is kind of breaking news right now, but we'll be following this on IBM TV. But it looks like Air Indian plane was crashed in Calcutta after skidding off the runway. Apparently, there was some bad thunderstorms there, but we will keep you apprised at IBM TV. Just took place about, from what we've seen, about 6 minutes ago.
Is it monsoon season, or are you having just heavy rains?
No, so it is monsoon season in India at the moment.
Yeah.
So all across we are having heavy rains, and especially in the south, where this city is a part of the state of Kerala, where peak monsoon is there at this moment.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people in Calcutta too, but looks like
no, this was not Calcutta. This was a different city on the west coast.
Really?
Yeah,
Calicut.
yeah,
this is Calicut. This is Calicut.
Oh, okay.
Calicut.
Different state.
Calicut.
All right.
Yeah.
Different place. I was wondering because I thought maybe they spelled Calcutta wrong, but it's Calicut. Okay. So they're different airport. So Mark Lee has just joined us from
joined us. How are y'all doing? I'm sorry about the news out of India. Very sad news.
Yeah.
Here there's been a lot of devastating news around the world, because I know that we had that Beirut bombing or the explosion a few days ago. So my heart goes out to them as well. So there's just so much tragedies that we're dealing with, in addition to, of course, the fight against the pandemic throughout the world and everything. So yeah, definitely my hearts go out to all of those folks. And even here locally, I mean, nothing as devastating as that, but I did see where, and Nick may be aware of this as well, where one of our Raleigh schools had a case of students that actually came down with the COVID and things of that nature. So now they're trying to figure out how that's going to impact folks going back to school, because it was young folks that will. And actually, I want to say, Nick, that it happened after they had gone to the hospital. So they're wondering whether it was even transmitted to them while they were maybe even dealing with other relatives or things of that nature. But it does look like it happened while they were in the hospital area, so like in the medical area, from what I understand. And Nick, if I'm wrong, you can clarify that, but that is the understanding that I have and everything. So it's just a lot of devastating things that are going around the world, but there is, hopefully there's hope around the corner and things in terms of whether we'll get that vaccine and things of that nature. I am actually a member of the NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists, and I've been attending the conference. It's a virtual conference, and I've been actually kind of like watching things in retrospect, so kind of like watching it after they've happened. I haven't gone into the time that the actual meeting was taking place, my own schedule, whether it's stuff here at Ibm Tv or other scheduled things that I had going on. But yesterday they had President Biden speak, and he gave a lot of remarks, some that folks are still trying to mull over and things of that nature. I am not a supporter of the current person in the occupying 1600, but at the same time, some of the answers that I heard from Biden were of concern, because like I said, a couple of times, even in his answers, there's been questions about his cognitive abilities and things of that nature, and there were times that the answers seemed to be a little bit hesitant and a little bit of concern in that regard. So like I said, I know some people are wondering about that, and then there were some answers that he gave in reference to both the Latin American population and how that relates to the African American population, and some of his other answers that I know some folks may have taken offense at and things of that nature. Because at one point he was talking about how the African American community is very much of a, and I think I know what he was trying to say, but it's a very the way that it votes and the way that it is treated is very much of like almost like a block vote, whereas the Latin American vote is not that way all the time. It's a little bit more across the board. There's a little bit more of a split in terms of the way they vote Republican and Democrat based on where they are and things of that nature. But that is not the way that the answer came across, unfortunately. I think I know the intent of what he was trying to say, but the way that it came across did not quite come across that way. And there were a couple of other times that he gave answers that I'm pretty sure I knew what the intent was, but like I said, unfortunately, in the public eye, what you say in your intent and the way that you phrase it is what people pay attention to. So unfortunately, they pay more attention to the way you phrase it than what your intent is. So like I said, I'm pretty sure that I knew what his intent was in a couple of the controversial answers. And the NABJ has a YouTube website, so if folks want to go to NABJ NAHJ. And here, Vice Presidential candidate, well, Vice President Biden, presidential candidate Biden, and some of those answers, you can make your own judgment. Or if you want to, I can pull them up and you can hear some of the answers. But like I said, there was even one time that I think that he was asked about that cognitive ability, and he was trying to make light of it and trying to make a joke. But the way he made the joke was to ask the questionnaire, who was an African American, had he taken the cocaine before the asking the question. So, like I said, that almost comes across as an insult versus the way he tried to do it, which is a little fun and a little humor and things of that nature. But unfortunately, that's not the way it came across. So, like I said, it was very interesting. I've seen a couple of Biden interviews, but this one I actually listened to, I want to say the vast majority of it, like maybe 95% of it or 90% of it. And I can understand where people may have different concerns, whether that's the way he's talking about the wall, whether that's what he's talking about with China and tariffs, because there was a couple of answers in that regard that were also interesting. So, like I said, it was my first time hearing this kind of conversation, because, like I said, I'm a member of our local chapter of the NABJ, and it is a joint conference and a virtual conference. They've actually had some fascinating things outside of the political realm, because they've had some people that talked about how they went through the Disney experience, and in that Disney experience and an internship, they learned a lot, and they are now working. Two of them, I want to say that they featured, are working in the medical field. So they're actually now doing work in COVID research and things of that nature, even though they were having the internship in a media-related company, but they opted to go for medicine in terms of their careers, because they think they did it in like mid 2010. So like we'll say 2015, 2016, something like that. And now they're working in the science fields. And then there was some stuff that they were showing of like the making with Insomniac Games. And I know we have our gaming show on Thursday, but Insomniac Games is a major player in the United States. And we're showing some of the creators for the new version of Spider-Man. That was part of the reason that I asked yesterday our good friend and kind of regular panelist on our video, Jatovi, what he thought about that game, because I had heard that interview earlier that day. So he gave us his insight. So just a little of the news around the world and my thoughts of that I wanted to share.
Okay. Thank you. And we also have another person who just came from around the world. Sharif from Malaysia has just joined us, our PhD scholar. So what's happening over in your neck of the woods, Sharif?
Yes, Malaysia doing good. Malaysia actually doing good. Business-wise, they are trying to reform the business. Especially, they are trying to using a lot more technology and technological advantage and this related business for developing this thing. Especially vaccine, we have some improvement. ASEAN, not only Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Indonesia, Taiwan. All of them actually trying to develop a ally as a region, as a bloc, and they want to try to getting their vaccine and producing vaccine in Malaysia. And also for economical perspective, today what I see that they are trying to make a collaborations, that how they can overcome from this challenging situation. This is the things they are trying to do. I'm hopeful, I'm positive. I think that how they are strategically making an alignment in between Malaysia and other country, especially this ASEAN region, it will be helpful for their healthcare and business related things. I think it will be helpful.
Mm-hmm. So do you know Irene from Malaysia who said hello?
No, I saw. I think she joined one of the program in IBM TV, right?
Oh yeah,
yes.
We should get her back on. And get Irene back on from Malaysia. Because we're
she'll be doing a beauty show soon, basically, from Malaysia. She's originally a Chinese living in Malaysia since a while, and she's a good friend of mine since like 4 or 5 years. So I hope I can get her on board on IBM TV as soon as I can.
Oh, sweet. Okay. No, that sounds. I mean, that just sounds really great. Well, the thing is, it seems to me though, every time they bring up some part of the United States, hey, we're doing better in our coronavirus, I always point out Malaysia, and then there's complete silence because they can't believe that with 32 million people, you have 125 deaths, where we have 300 million and we have 150,000 people who died. And by the way, in case you guys don't know, from India, Malaysia, around the world, we are experiencing people dying of coronavirus at the rate of 1,000 people a day.
Yes.
Okay, 1,000 people will die between now and tomorrow.
And they're projecting 300,000 by the end of the year.
300,000 by the end of the year. But we don't wear masks. We don't socially distance. We're sending our kids to school. And yes, you go someplace, you go out in the bars and hang out.
It's easy.
I have a question for Dr. Kula. There was a
So
case in
Nick,
India that happened.
before he goes further, I'll just like to reiterate three things. So now, we've had good amount of evidence coming up telling us that see the mortality, or you can say the severity of the infection is dependent upon the virus inoculation. That means that the amount of, if I put it in layman terms, the amount of viruses which you take inside in the initial point, right? Because what happens is, if the virus load, which is known as the virus load, if it is more at the instant, at the initial point, the chances of it overwhelming your defenses and multiplying is going to be much more, as compared to a dose of virus or a load of virus which is lesser in quantity. So that is why the mask becomes very important, not only for your safety, but for the other person across, seated across you, or the other person coming in contact with you, for his safety or her safety as well. So please understand that thing, because it is now imperative. We have got good amount of evidence-based thing coming up. So we need to understand that the mask is now going to be an integral part of our clothing. So the better we understand it, and the earlier we understand it, it is better for us. So it is very important to wear mask, whatever type. I am not saying that you need to wear A, B, C, D type of mask, but at least wear something, so that the chances, even if that you are taking in a virus, God forbid, if you are exposed to a patient of coronavirus who is also wearing a mask, and you are also wearing a mask, even if the exposure is there, the chances of that getting you down into a fulminant attack will be lesser as compared to a case where you are not wearing any mask. So it is very important to reiterate this fact that the covering or of the face, especially the mouth as well as the nose, it is very important, and we need to wear these masks. I mean, you cannot reiterate this fact again and again. I mean, social distancing at certain regions may not be a possibility. I mean, it may be difficult in certain kind of environments where people are hobnobbing or living together as a community too much, because I mean, due to various other reasons. But I mean, not wearing a mask at the moment is a cardinal sin, and I don't think we are in a position to do that. So it is very important. Mask is number one on priority. Then comes social distancing and other things. But the first thing is a mask. And if it is not a mask, at least it's a cloth mask. If it's not a cloth mask, anything covering the face. I mean, especially the nose as well as the mouth.
So Dr. Chula, I've heard that children actually through their nose that's where they're a greater risk of giving those of us the coronavirus, because apparently more viruses live in their nose than those of us who are adults. Is that correct? Did I hear that correctly?
I'll tell you what happens is, children generally are nose breather. Right. So you must have observed when you have children, when they are in their early stages. So if they have nasal blockade, it becomes very difficult. They find it very difficult to breathe. So as we evolve, I mean, as we mature up, what happens is that even if the nose gets blocked, we get used to breathing orally. That means through mouth also. So that is why it is very important that, so what happens is that the children, since they are obligate more on nasal breathers, so they have a tendency of breathing more towards nose, and their sneezing and all will also result in more.
My other question, I'm just curious to hear from the rest of the panel. No, here we've got a number of folks that are going back to college, and they're going back to university. They're young folks, and I know that now I'm in Durham, but not that far away in Chapel Hill. A a lot of the students are doing what students will do. They're out there partying and they're out there socializing and doing things of that nature. So they're not necessarily wearing the mask. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine who travels around doing door deliveries and things of that nature was actually shocked when she went to Chapel Hill to not see these folks wearing masks and definitely not keeping the social distance and things of that nature. And actually, just to kind of like, I know we've got folks here that are sports fans. One of my friends is a Duke fan. So he basically sent out a Facebook page saying, look, UNC is getting it wrong. We need to get it right. So let's do it the correct way since they're not doing it right. So he was kind of like playing that rivalry in order to get the message across. But I was wondering, are y'all seeing that around the rest of the world and around the rest of the country where unfortunately our youth, and when I say youth, I'm talking about the young adults that are like, say, between high school years and the young 20s of the college years, are not necessarily following the rules because they're feeling like many folks will do. I remember, I mean, I'm 58, but I remember my 20s and feeling invincible and things of that nature. So feeling that I could conquer the world. But I was just wondering, are y'all seeing that in the rest of the country and the rest of the world where too many of the youth are not taking this seriously and as seriously as they should?
Well, I live in a place where everybody is smart, so I see a lot of people wearing masks. And but when I see them not wearing masks, it's either an old white man or a young person like you're describing.
Right. What about you, Sharif?
Yes, one thing I just want to add, I think there are doctors and many experts from different countries, and I try to do research on that specific field, like actually healthcare system, wearing mask, maintain social distancing. This is very important. Undoubtedly, this is very important. But this COVID-19 situation, what actually happening that most important thing is that around the world, I believe many countries actually ignoring the healthcare system. They are really ignoring the totally healthcare system. Even if we see, I'm trying to figure out different countries budget, especially developing nations. Let's say it's very common that when we preparing a budget, national budget, we should focus on number one, education, number two, healthcare, number three, agriculture. Then we have our infrastructure and other things we can focus on particular point. But this COVID-19 actually in a sense good, like many countries they're saying that economically we grow our GDP, we build our business, billions and billions dollars and $1 trillion history. But most important thing is that I think that different countries, those who are not performing well in this COVID-19 situation, their major problem, if I do root cause analysis, is they do not have a proper healthcare system. And one point I want to take as a point for my research, I think Kimberly, one of the sessions, she said that healthcare must not to be commercialized. Let's say example, I just want to take example as a Bangladesh, okay, because I'm from Bangladesh and I live in Malaysia. Like we have actually many rich corporation, we have many rich people, we have many rich things. Even 2020s, the last budget, even what I'm observed, like they just more focus, even this COVID-19 situation, what the things I'm trying to argue with the government or trying to give them some better policy, that first they still in this situation they give the most of their budget for roads and highway and construction. I think healthcare and other things is still fifth and sixth position. I think all of the budget, around 7 to 8% of their money they are trying to give in this healthcare. I think the world now in trouble, and major trouble is that political reformation. So political reformations means like we have to go like bring more intellectual people, more capable peoples, more doctors, more expert in this healthcare system, and go, like they have to involve in politics or policy, whatever it is. I think better policy development is most important thing. But every country, including USA, every country, they are trying to ignoring healthcare system. We are trying to ignoring producing more doctors. We are trying to ignoring producing more nurses. more research centers, more hospitals. I think this is major problem. I think IBM TV or we should focus on that particular point, because if you have a problem in your root, and you do not, you only focus on the, yes, mask is important and social distancing is important, but you cannot survive. You have to struggle. USA people has to struggle, no choice, because they are more focused on where they are politician. They focus on more industrialization. Free, I think Silicon Valley more focus on billions and $1 trillion technology.
I think that they're more focused on freedom actually, apart from industrialization.
I don't know what people. Yes, what people
So
say is.
I'll tell you a very important thing, which is the crux of the entire thing. So please understand one thing, that health is not at all at any stage, it is not important to win election. So that is the crux of the matter. If it becomes an important issue for elections, all will focus on it, right? So this is, education and health have never been a cause for election, right? So all across, I mean, I'm sure in America also never has health become an agenda for election. Has it been, Jim?
Just Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump recently he said before November we want to go for vaccine. Now vaccine come in the front line
No, vaccine is another thing. I'm not talking about a knee-jerk reaction. I'm talking about health and education per se. Has it been any time in an agenda of any government anywhere?
I completely agree, and that's why no one is talking about death. Everyone is talking about recovery rate. That I have the best recovery rate than this country, and those things.
Exactly.
Recovery rate.
So
In India,
these are all marketing gimmicks. They are marketing gimmicks created by different marketers who are trying to give a certain kind of an projection, and everyone is in that rat race of trying to prove that they are doing better off than other countries. Unfortunately, this is not the reality.
There's no problem going around the world. Basically, I don't know why all the media channels are talking about vaccine, that we are at stage 1, stage 2. I don't know why. Once the vaccine is out, you can release the vaccine, because if you say that the vaccine is at trial 3 or we are at stage 3 and vaccine is coming out soon, so people, because they're very hopeful and they think that the vaccine will be out in next month, so they're a little careless. I think they have to tell that whenever the vaccine is out, we will release that thing. But I think it's kind of a lobbying going on where pharmaceuticals are doing the branding and think that whatever company releases the vaccine first, they will get the much chunk of share of the world basically. So I don't think that we have to talk about vaccine or the trials, what's happening. It should be happening backdoor. And whenever there's a good news, we can release that, but it should not be happening the way it's happening now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Dr. Pella, if I can just jump in. One of the things that I've seen too often, and it has been an issue, health and everything in past elections. I mean, Obama had healthcare as one of his main principles and things of that nature, but it's never been one where it's been kind of like a barrier tool in terms of like too many people are thinking about how it will impact the elections here in America because they're concerned about going out to vote and things of that nature. So that's where the concern lies, and where a lot of people are trying to figure out about mail-in voting, which then becomes a political hot button and everything. So I think that that's why it becomes more of a political issue. It's not that health hasn't been a concern or something that has been on the platforms for a number of years. I know definitely Obama had some healthcare platforms. I want to say, Jim, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even as far back as Nixon and as far back as definitely Clinton, there were things that were revolving around health, but it was more around the insurance and things of that nature and how to get correct health care and things along those lines. It wasn't about the day-to-day kind of things and vaccines and things of that nature. And I'm actually here in Durham, North Carolina, and this is like pharmacy center of the world, and there are other places as well, but definitely there are a number of pharmaceutical companies here and everything. So I have seen the impact of that pharmaceutical lobby, because that's a very powerful lobby. I would argue it's probably one of the two most powerful lobbies in the country, the pharmaceutical lobby and the NRA, the folks that are all about gun rights and things of that nature. But those are probably the two biggest lobbies in the United States in the sense of trying to impact things and spending tons, and I do mean tons of money to keep their issues and their things afloat. So like I said, there's a number of folks and a number of things that we probably could have had years ago, but unfortunately they are looking at their bottom dollar and are afraid that it's going to impact them in a negative way from a capitalist standpoint, and therefore they are not necessarily doing what will benefit the people overall. So that's where I think the pharmaceutical industries need to have some curtailment, in my opinion. But like I said, I'm just one individual here in Durham, North Carolina, but I do think that they do need to have some curtailment of some of their powers, because they oftentimes dictate a lot of things with their the monies that they funnel into campaigns and things of that nature.
But one thing I just want to say, I think when actually lobby and this kind of thing become more powerful, I think I feel guilty, and the common people has the problem, because we never want to go frontline, and we do not want to do the right things. We always think, okay, if I go to the front line, if I engage with this politics and the policy and other things, then it's a problem. Even in my personal life, I can give a specific example. This kind of lobby and other things not work properly, actually not work properly. If much people, even in my personal life, like one of the big corporation, they're trying to develop a coal projects, and it's failed, desperately failed, because yes, political lobby, international lobby, corporate lobby, many people work, but local community, they are not so rich, they are not so influential, but all of the local community, they work together and they say, no, I do not want coal project here, or I do not want airport here. So the big corporation, they fail, desperately fail. I can bring the big example, desperately fail. So I bring even healthcare system. This is okay, like vaccine, mask, social distancing, everything okay. But I think that we should more focus on definitely the healthcare policy, and definitely much people need to be more involved. They have to create the awareness. Doctor has to play the awareness that how we can develop more, especially developing nations. There is a horrible scenario. It's not like Singapore or other country. Even I don't know, like even at least my country, there is not a doctor is not a actually health minister. There are actually, maybe he finishing his masters from English, and he become minister of doctor, like healthcare system. So it's actually the problem for every country, what I believe. So this is the problem actually from our much people. We do not focus on the right things, because whatever we have to do, we have to go with a proper policy. We have to think about the proper policy. So I believe that, I don't know, you are doctor, you know better than me. I'm not a doctor at all, but how to create better healthcare policy. And definitely much people have to involve with that particular point. Always we say and we feel fear, oh, it's not possible, because there are big political lobby, there is a big corporate lobby, there is a more big international lobby. It's not work. Believe me, in my personal life, I can give you a specific example. It's not work. Really,
See,
it's not work.
Mr.
So
Sharif,
much.
you are perfectly right in that. The only problem is that a common person is not. See, they're also not. It just seems that over a period of time, which we've seen, common people also believe that health is not a great issue for them. So they will vote for politicians who will have different issues. Health has never been an issue. And please understand, believe me, you and me, unless and until it becomes an issue, unless and until the common
Yeah.
person starts feeling that health is going to be an issue for me, this will continue the same way it is. It has nothing to do with lobbies and all. It is just there. You need to understand that you are feeling, sitting in a country, that health has to be an issue for me. Now, if you do a survey, I can assure you, out of 10 people, 7 people will point to, if you ask them that what is the 3 most important parameters for you, in which way you are going to vote for a political party or a leader. I can assure you, in those 3 points, health is not going to be there. So maybe it is going to be on certain economic agenda, maybe some religion agenda, maybe on some other, some regional bias or something else, but it is never on health. So what happens is, if the common people, they're not involved and they don't want to evolve themselves into forcing our politicians to rethink their strategy, this is going to remain the same. It's not going to change. Lobbies or no lobbies, it doesn't matter. It just has to come from the base. If we all believe that we need, and whenever we are voting for a certain individual, we want to know that what is his take or agenda on health and education, and then we vote. That is a wishful scenario in developing countries. Unfortunately, there is, Ankit is smiling, but he knows that there is a lot of things which goes offhand. So there is a lot of derailment which happens. So people don't vote on these issues. Unfortunately, we have to realize if we
I'll
vote
give
on
you an
it,
example
then
basically.
it changes.
So I think Dr. Dul and Dr. Jatin would agree with me. I'm not sure I'm talking to what part, but one of our, one of our top leaders, he got COVID positive, and he's admitted to a private hospital. And now the scenario is that why he's not admitted to a public hospital, which is one of the top hospitals in India. A lot of people join. A lot of people come from different parts of the world, or maybe different parts of India as well, to go and check them at that hospital. So there's a different scenario going on, and everyone knows the answer, but no one wants to accept it, and I think that's the reason. Secondly, I wanted to ask Dr. Tule and Dr. Jatin that if you know about a case which happened in UP, one of the top cops in UP, he found COVID negative twice, and then he got, he died due to COVID. So I don't know what is the case, but do you know about it? What happened? Because he was suffering from COVID,
So
but
I'll flip this googly question to Dr. Jatin, my dear friend and colleague. So he will answer this question for you, because I have a colleague. So I'll request that I'll leave with all my good wishes to all of you. Hopefully you'll do well, right? We'll meet again. Hopefully, Godspeed.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank Ankit for inviting me on this great platform. Last time I was not able to succeed on putting my words over here, but definitely this time you have definitely given me a googly, and that too on a first ball. So coming on to the first question, why one of our great politicians who is not going to the public hospital in which people used to come from all over the world,
yeah,
just to have even observership, just to have a training,
yeah,
and still instead of the going to that mm, one big public hospital, that too in Delhi only, he chooses the corporate one. I think that would be his own personal decision. One I would like to say this thing, and second would be that because at this level, the bigger the person, the number of persons working under him in the form of 40 persons, they might be in a huge crowd. So in a public hospital, it would be very easy to come down over there to interact with the doctor, okay, what kind of condition is going on, and accessibility of his current condition. But in a corporate hospital, it's not easy, to everyone to get into that scenario, what is going on, what kind of medication he is receiving. You can understand that the media person try to, dig into each and every matter. So that could be one of the reason that he might have chosen the corporate one. Because in government hospital, many things come openly. So that could be one of the reason. And I already told you that it's personal decision whether he would like to go to his, being a citizen of India. It's his own decision whether he want to choose to the public or he want to choose to private. Though he belongs to the public servant only. So this is my thinking is on
I
this.
completely agree, Dr. Jatin. I understand, and we know that a lot of top leaders and celebrities they joined the hospital in Saket. But the question is that people won't get confidence if a leader chooses something else. Although I personally don't have any issues with that. It's more about the health concern rather than something else, and also it's more about your own satisfaction and your comfort level because you know how the both hospitals infrastructure is little different, and it's little difficult to manage at this point of time during pandemic. But what I'm trying to say is that no, whenever we talk about budget or when we talk about anything else in a country, health is not a priority basically. And as we were discussing with Sharif earlier, that if we make sure that 20% of the budget goes to health and then 20% goes to education, I think we're in a better hands altogether, because ultimately both the things will give you a lot of power and a lot of room to do a lot of other work as well, which is not happening. because people are talking about something else. And my question to all the panelists, whoever there on IBM TV, from senators from US to other people around the world, that uh, everyone is accountable for their task. So if Sharif is working for some company, he's accountable. You're accountable for your work and patient in your hospital. But politicians are not accountable when they frame policy. If they frame a policy and if something happened, or if they do a policy, if there is a budget planned, so there is no accountability because he just resigned and that's about it. But the money and the time we spent, that never come back. So I don't know why we don't have any accountability in terms of policy, especially healthcare policy. That's what we wanted to know. And same goes with education as well. But Dr. Jatin, I wanted to know: do you know about that cop of Uttar Pradesh which was negative and then he found died due to COVID? Do you know that story?
Not only that case, also even during my practice, also I used to come across many cases. I think more than 10 cases so far from now. Those who are having the typical symptom of SARI, that is severe acute respiratory illness. So those who are
Yeah.
getting admitted to the suspected COVID case, and even on down the line when we go for testing, I mean, one, second, third, fourth, all the tests coming negative. But if you look at the parameters of the inflammatory parameters, look at the picture of the CT scan.
Yeah.
In CT scan, we used to calculate the CORAD scoring, the COVID scoring. That they are falling in moderate to severe category. But if you look at the RT-PCR, that is coming out to be negative. So in that context, I have my theory that in the first week of the illness, where the fever is less, but the virus is more, and in that condition, and the people used to sit at home, they don't get their tested because the complications are less in the first week.
Yeah.
In the second week of the illness, when the virus is less, inflammation is more, and the complication is more, the chances of missing the virus is quite high.
Yeah.
It's more than 60%. We can miss the target in the second to third week, and that is the phase of complications. That could be the reason that a patient who is coming to us with typical symptoms and signs of the severe COVID-19, and we are not able to detect the COVID-19 positivity. So in that scenario, I would say that treat those patients by uh, keeping in mind that there could be other differentials of these symptoms. And second, if you are highly sure that this patient could be a suspected COVID, treat him as we are treating as a COVID positive patient, because we can't miss the patient on the just on the basis of the COVID-19 positivity.
And Dr. Jatin, a lot of our viewers around the world wanted to know that after, cured from COVID, what kind of precautions or what kind of treatment or what kind of nutrition or healthy food they have to take care, because they are concerned about their health. And no one knows what happened after maybe like 2 years or 5 years down the line. So, do you have anything on that? Or is that going
Yeah,
on?
so if I look at my cohort of patients, most of the patients, whether they are coming on the OPD basis or they are in the IPD patients, falling into any category, whether it's a mild, moderate, or severe one, definitely there is a post-COVID sequelae, in the form of a weakness, early fatigue. So these are the symptoms which persist most of the patients for around 4 to 6 weeks. So I would say that they should be taking a good protein diet to get back to their nutrition. So if the body weight is 60 kg, I recommend them to take a protein as per 1.5 gram per kg. So around 80 to 90 gram in a 60 kg person to build
Okay.
up the nutrition back to the normal scenario. Apart from that, as we all know that in certain cases of severe COVID, we have associated vitamin D deficiency and other rise in the inflammatory markers. So we recommend them to have the steroid dexamethasone. As we know that the dexamethasone from the recovery trial from the UK, it has shown to be good for the lung recovery. But at the same time, steroid have the catabolic effect on the protein. Our protein start breaking down. So in that context, we have to give a good protein diet, and that too, patient who are frail, like a patient of 60 plus, with a decrease in the nutrition over the last 10-15 days, going on to the mechanical ventilator. So in those scenarios, nutrition definitely plays a major role in terms of recovery.
And Dr. Jatin, Sharif is with us, and Sharif's mother is not well, and she's in Bangladesh, and she's having some kidney-related problems. So, what kind of precaution her mother needs to take during the pandemic right now, because she's in hospital right now, Sharif?
No, she come back. She come back
Okay.
because I think her problem is that she has some other issue. Let's say she has diabetic, then kidney issue related problem, then she has a like other hormonal problem. I think she has other hormonal problem. So her
Hyperthyroid.
problem, yes, yes, yes. Her problem is that she cannot produce enough blood for I think anemia and these things. That's why we need to take her in hospital. So after that she go back, but I think still she needs some better treatment and other things. But she was in
So,
Malaysia when she was in Malaysia she was good, but now I think it's in a critical condition. Yeah.
first of all, I would like to say really sorry to hear about all this, but I would like to ask that is the indication of admission was just because of the renal disease or underlying COVID was also there?
No, COVID. She don't have COVID.
Okay, so that might be that underlying diabetes, and along with the diabetic complication of the that we call diabetic nephropathy. That could be one of the
Especially
diabetes
she
and the
has
diabetic nephropathy.
anemia. So emergency basis she need
Okay,
blood and things. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
okay,
Sharif and
Okay.
Dr. J, I was actually here to bounce on off of here. I've got to run some errands and things of that nature, so I'm going to leave it to you fine folks to talk about the medical things that are going on in the world. But as always, I see Sharif more than I see you, Dr. Jatton. But definitely great to see both of you. And of course, I'm always talking to Ankit. He's definitely got things keeping me busy and things of that nature. So definitely looking forward to having these conversations later on and things of that nature. I hope that both of you, if you get a chance tomorrow, I know my good buddy Zach has got a very prominent guest that will be on his show, Funk from the Front Seat. So he's been announcing it, but Patty Collins will be on that show. She is Bootsy Collins' wife and is doing a lot of great things in the funk music world. Those of you that are from around the world may know the name George Clinton. That's not President Bill Clinton. That's the funk musician George Clinton, and the whole sounds of funk music and things of that nature. So they will be talking about that, and that should be a great conversation. I know me and Ankit will be working on that show, and we're looking forward to it. And Ankit, you don't know this yet, so I'm making this announcement right now. There's a very popular sound of music called beach music, and chairman of the board is a very popular beach group that a lot of folks from around the world have heard of. They're very popular and things of that nature. Well, the general, the person that created that group, he has gone on, to the ancestral grounds. But the person running that group, Ken Knox, has been in touch with me, and he'll be appearing on my show on the 19th. So that's a week from this coming Wednesday. So on the 19th, he will be appearing and sharing his rich musical career. He's been in the game almost as long as Bootsy and them, in terms of having been doing a number of great musical things. So we're just getting all kinds of amazing guests, and we had a couple of specials that have already aired. The gentleman with reparations, who is all about trying to get reparations here in the United States for our African American population, Sandy Darity, and we're actually distant cousins. He was on recently, and then we had Ken Hawkins on, who is our North Carolina state representative. So we've had some amazing folks on the shows, not just mine, but other folks' shows as well. Tish has had some amazing guests, and I think she's having some folks that'll deal with alcoholism and things of that nature that are coming up. So we've had some great guests and continue to have some great guests, but I've become a big fan of you, Sharif. I know we've been on more panels, just getting to meet you, Dr. Jatton, but want to say that definitely becoming fans of both of you and consider you my brothers from other parts of the world. So definitely just wanted to say hello to you and thank you for joining I'm glad to join y'all here, and I know y'all will continue the conversation. Like I said, I've got to run out because a friend of mine needs to pick up some stuff, and I've got to go help him get that stuff because I've got the keys.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mark. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
ma'am, I'll call you.
So, Sharif, yeah.
Yes, I sent you my mother report to your WhatsApp. I don't know, like
Yeah, I got
if
it.
you want to share with the doctors. I think
I'll check with our runner specialist doctors your mother report, and then we'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
One of the top renal doctors were there on our show on IBM TV. We work closely together, and Dr. Jatin knows Dr. Kullar. So so we can get the report sorted with that.
She,
Yes, yes.
he is definitely a great nephrologist of India. And does she sorry, dialysis dependent? Your mother?
Yes.
No,
Does
she's not on
she is
dialysis. She's not on dialysis.
not on
No,
dialysis?
no, she's not in dialysis. No, no, no.
So I think you should
Sharif question
consult
is
Dr.
that,
Fuller.
Sharif question is that her mother was very good when she was in Malaysia, but since the time she reaches Bangladesh, I think that, I mean, since then she's not feeling well. Is that what Sharif the case is?
Yes, actually, yes, yes. When she was in Malaysia, actually, her treatment is good,
Yeah,
and regularly, I think she go to gym, even she was very good that time. But when she go to Bangladesh, actually, for some reason she has to go. So I find that last few months, even in COVID period, I cannot bring her back.
yeah,
But in that situation, actually, she deteriorating every day. She has a lot of issues and many problems. Let's say actually, that country like Bangladesh, I think weather is a big issue. We have some problems and everything. Dr. Jyotin, I think he has some issue.
basically, maybe because see, India, what happened is that my father was in US a couple of years back, and then he was very good. And although he was taking medicines, but he was not on dialysis that time. But
Mhm.
he can walk for like 5 kilometers every day, and the weather was good. And we generally, I'm not sure about Bangladesh, but we have a very high pollution in India, especially in Delhi,
Mhm.
and the pollution
Mhm.
levels are like more than 400 PM5 and PM10 and so forth and so forth. So, and then when he was in US, so that the pollution was like under 15 or 20. So it's like a
Mhm.
drastic change. So when people go for a walk, they don't feel, tired or something like that. They don't feel fatigue and they can walk for a long period of time. So
Mhm.
that was the case. But since the time he come back, he was not well, and then we had to go for dialysis. I mean, so dialysis happened like four or five months
Mhm.
after he come back from US, and now he's
Mhm.
in dialysis since almost a year now. But
Mhm.
I think pollution is also an important role
Mhm.
in the healthcare system in Asia. I'm not sure about Bangladesh, but especially in India and especially in Delhi. So maybe Dr. Ahuja can share more details about it. So, Dr. Ahuja, where do you see pollution level hampering the healthcare or maybe the health of the citizens in India and in Delhi right now?
Definitely, pollution has a direct impact in terms of we talk about the mortality and shortening the life of the individuals. It's been study recently which said that if you are staying in a city like Delhi, which has a AQI of varying from more than 500 to till 1000, so
Yeah.
there is a shortening of at least 9 to 12 years of life. So if we are staying in Delhi, we are almost shortening our life a decade. So it's a huge number. If we are shortening our life a decade, 10 years. So I think it has a direct impact in terms of heart disease, lung disease, and not only the air pollution. What about the water pollution, which is coming in form of the uh, you know uh, what's 89?
89
That could be
basically.
yeah, it's a recent effect of the
Yeah.
prolonged lockdown which our
Yeah.
country has faced. So the earth has rejuvenated itself from 1000 to 89. So that
So,
could
so
be the reason. But if you talk about the water pollution,
yeah.
so pardon?
So please continue. Continue.
Yeah. So water pollution, the fruits and vegetables we are consuming at our homes, and they are coming through uh, from the land which have been soaked by the the water which is already polluted in terms of the heavy metals, in terms of the carbon compounds. That is what we are consuming it. So that also has the direct impact on our health, whether directly or indirectly over the next decade.
No, I completely agree. What I'm trying
But
to say is that
one
yes,
thing
yes,
one thing even I think from Bangladesh, many people actually go to India for treatment. Even Malaysia, I think Malaysia, Singapore, many Indian doctors in different hospitals, they're doing very well. Even
yeah,
Malaysian people, they know that Indian treatment is very good. And even from Malaysia, many people go to actually India for, I think, especially Chennai, this area, for getting treatment. But I don't know, like at present situation, how actually Indian, because maybe there are huge amount of people how they handle these issues, the COVID-19 and other thing. But many people for getting treatment, I think they also go to India for treatment and these things. Yeah, I think
No, I completely
India.
agree, Sharif. I mean, in Indian treatment and Indian doctors and research is everything is fine. It's just that we need more good infrastructure and we need more facilities for doctors actually, which is not
Mhm.
happening. I think. I mean, what happened is that a lot of big companies or big industries they are managing the healthcare system. Doctors are
Mhm.
just a part basically. But if we give more power and more room to doctors, I think situation could be much better. And then we have more doctors coming up because what happened is that a lot of our doctors are going to abroad for their
Mhm.
practices. I don't know. I mean, Dr. Jatin knows more about the numbers, but a lot of my friends they are doctor. They studied in India and then they got that NOC. There's a process called NOC, and then they went back to US and other countries, and they are
Mhm.
doing well there as well. I mean, it's not that we don't want doctors to go outside US or maybe go outside India or maybe Singapore. One of my cousin, he lives in Singapore. He is one of the senior doctors of neuropsychiatrist in Singapore. Before that, he was in
Mhm.
London, so he was out
Mhm.
since like 20 years. And I know a lot of people
Mhm.
like that on. But also one of my mamaji, my mother's brother. He is a
Mhm.
doctor since past 50 years. He just celebrated his 50 years of MBBS, and he's still in the same country and in the same state. He just retired and then moved to a different state, but he was there in the same state, which is a very small state close to Bihar, and he worked there for like 50 years. So there are a lot of cases like that, but I think because of urbanization, westernization, doctors also need more power and they need more scope and infrastructure. That's why this brain drain is going on. But Dr. Ahuja can share more details. In the meantime, we would like to invite
In
and
terms of,
welcome our Jeff Icon.
in
He's
terms
there
of the
and he
level
does
of,
a
yeah.
Wednesday show on IBM TV.
Hello, how are you?
Good, Jeff. How are you?
Fine. I listen to the paranormal radio show every night about the AIs coming on board and about controversy. And last night they said India surpassed 2 million.
Yeah. So we are
So
like 2
I,
million.
I my girlfriend's in Rishikesh.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my girlfriend's in Rishikesh, and you said people come to India for treatment. Her treatment is ashram.
Her treatment is?
Yeah, so she goes to study with her masters and her gurus, and she's been
Okay.
25 times to India, and so it's her heart. But she says that she's not coming back to America. She's going to stay.
I know that there are a lot of people who goes to that part of the country in India. And I'll give you an example. If you know about Arnold Schimanskar, he was one of your senator, or sorry, one of your governor in California, I think. And then he lost his son at some point of time. I don't know the numbers or the year. But what happened is that he was not feeling well and he was not happy and satisfied somehow. So a lot of Indians they approached him and maybe their friends and they said that you have to visit River Ganges in Haridwar or Rishikesh and then do your ritual for your son and you will find peace and all those things. After doing all those, I mean, formalities or all the rituals, he felt good and he felt blessed that there is some kind of spiritual or some kind of ritual, practices which India follows. I mean, it all depends. I mean, it's not about Hindu, Muslim, or Christian or things like that, but it's just about accepting things. And then we follow like this on our day-to-day life. All the doctors as well, all the scientists also do the same thing. So it's not that we are not talking about science, but there are a lot of rituals which we follow from like decades or maybe like
Well,
generations and generations.
I think the DNA and the body works, the body mechanics are more better when we are at a spiritual peace in our life. When we worry, we bring stress up, and that heats up the body. That takes all of your antibodies that fight cancer and that grab things and take them out of your system every day. I think that they're made better when we're happy.
Yeah.
And when we're not stressed out, because I see every single family member and every one of my friends that are no longer here dying from tobacco and stress and alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that we need to promote everybody to calm down and to be pandemic safe. But calming down is one very important thing that we need to say on the nightly news. Everybody, be smart, be relaxed,
Go
love
to
your
Bali.
enemy.
Go to
Yeah.
Bali, Indonesia. Have you
Yeah.
seen the hotel prices there? Have you seen Bali?
Yeah, I saw. I made a poster one time, a T-shirt, and it was www.calm.com.
Wow.
You know,
It is
so
still
we
live?
need to be gentle, more gentle, and I think our DNA and our immune will boost. You know, and the body. I don't believe. I heard a lot of cancer doctors that are off-grid doctors that are small doctors say that it's not about boosting your immune system. It's about knowing what type of cancer you have to be able to release it. And again, the meditation or the contemplation we have now, we have so much time on our hands because of COVID. I don't meditate anymore. I contemplate. I go into contemplation because there's so many things to do and to think about. What is your reason we're on the planet? Why did we come here? And what do we have left to do? How much time do we have left? And now we have COVID. It's no fun. You can't date. You know, dating, you can't, you know, holding hands. How do you do that? Unless you're tested. And so that's a whole nother question. But in feeling better, I think just by having everybody be chill will help your immune system.
I think I completely understand, and I think Nick is showing some hotel rates right now, which is going on because of the COVID. There are a lot of discounted hotels available around the world. So Nick, are we? Nick is backstage, I think. So Nick, are we booking any hotels for IBMers right now?
Yeah, I was about to show some hotels we have in Bali, which look pretty
Bali,
cool. So the thing is, I don't know if you can see them. Can you see these
I've
hotels?
been to Bali. It's a beautiful place. I like that. Yeah, I like that small country because when I talk to Bali people who live in Bali, they think that they are not a part of Indonesia because their culture and their lifestyle is different from the Indonesian guy, and it's a small land in Indonesia. So amazing.
Is that $430 a night?
No, this is the Four Seasons in Bali. Okay, Jeff, here's your price: $74 a night.
Wow.
There you go. But you can actually do better. I mean, I'm giving you one of the expensive places.
Right, but that's why my girlfriend's staying in India. She teaches yoga, and you can't do yoga anymore in America together in a room. And she says, why should I come home? I'm teaching English. I have good food. I have the Ganges River, you know. And so she got an apartment for $350, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
Right.
And in America, that would be $1,200.
Yeah.
Well, Bali, if you ever go take a look, I don't know if we're going to do travel shows on Tuesday. So we have Travel Tuesday. Unbelievably bargain prices in Bali right now.
Yeah, but you're not getting me in an airplane during COVID.
That's the problem.
Yeah, but if you want COVID-free country, good country, everything perfect, infrastructure, I think Malaysia may be.
Yeah.
It's my observation. Malaysia may be good because you need very good environment, infrastructure, communication.
I have a joke.
Okay.
There's no COVID in Antarctica. Why?
There are no people.
Why?
Because they isolate.
Okay.
Okay. Wait, let me go check our rating meter. Oh, it just fell down, Ankit. Our rating meters.
They isolate.
So, I have a question for Sharif. So Sharif, Malaysia might not be, might be COVID free, but what about Malaysian Airlines? Is that COVID free? Because if people want to go to Malaysia, they need to.
No, actually, today I actually try to understand what's the situation, because I need to send some parcel to my country and Australia, because my mother-in-law live in Australia and my family live in Bangladesh. But still, it's stopped. True is that, like, Malaysia still they do not start communications with the other country. It's little bit of difficult. Okay.
we have different things that we do.
Yes.
This is
But I
my
think
way to take.
Jeff's cup have a small holder for something I don't know.
I don't know what that's all about.
That's my drink.
Yeah.
No, what is that small holder in front of the
Yeah,
cup?
that thing in front of the cup.
That's a marijuana pipe.
Oh.
Oh.
So you can go here and you can load it and you can be happy.
Oh.
You can eat, drink, and be happy. But do they even have that over in India? Do you guys do marijuana stuff over there, Ankit?
No.
No.
No
Legally,
CBD?
Okay, let's go to Malaysia. Marijuana stuff, is that over in Malaysia?
No.
Okay, let's go to
CBD is
America.
medicine.
Let's go to America, Jeff. Do they have marijuana in America?
33 states in America out of 51 are legal. Yes.
Okay, so you can see the difference right there.
Evolution. Marijuana is a beautiful plant. It makes paper, fiber, fuel, medicine, and the hemp seed has protein for all vegans and vegetarians. The hemp seed is beautiful. I'm a vegan, and I eat hemp seed every day in my smoothie, and I get all my protein.
Yeah. Well, for
But
me,
you know that in Asia, cow dung and elephant dung is also very popular. We make a lot of paper products. We make a lot of other cutleries and a lot of things with those dung as well. And those dung is good for agriculture and a lot of other factors. Do you know about that?
I mean, elephant poo paper, elephant poo poo paper.
Elephant poo poo paper and so is cow paper, cow dung.
I've never heard of it.
But we
I'm
need
curious about it. Why I'm
to
telling you
stop
that-
cutting. We need to stop
I'm
cutting
telling you that-
trees.
No, I'll tell you why I'm telling you that, because a lot of stationery happened with those cow dung and those elephant dung. Especially I'm talking about elephant dung because it has less moisture, and also what happened is that you can use it for agriculture, and the best part is that it's easily recyclable. You can recycle it.
Why don't
Now-
they make toilet
And
paper?
now the point is that when you serve a lot of products to the pet animals anywhere, everyone uses plastic products basically for their poop and for all those things. So if you use that product which is based out of elephant dung, it's good and it's easy to recycle. But no one talks about that as well.
You
No,
know,
they don't
I just heard the first dog in America got COVID.
The dog.
So that's an old story because it happened in Hong Kong 4 months back.
Really?
And you know, in Africa, one of the fruit they just tested like anything. I don't remember the food name. Fruit, I'm talking about a big fruit, and that was COVID positive.
Wow, I
You can
didn't know
see
that.
YouTube.
Yeah.
You can see the story on YouTube. It's in Africa. I can search and I can forward the story as well. So they just tested randomly. Yeah.
What I'm worried about is what's worse than COVID. Is there something behind this? Is there another one?
Could be. Probably. The
No one
answer
knows.
is yes, but it's contained.
There was a news yesterday about China that they have some kind of, some kind of virus spreading, and they have like some 70 plus new cases. Although we are not getting good news from China, a lot of since a while, but there was some news from China about some virus. And before that, couple of weeks ago or maybe a month ago, we heard about something called rat virus or something. So I don't know what's happening. But
What about China and population control?
so China have a policy basically, one child per parent. So that's why a lot of Chinese are, settling abroad because they have a policy of one child only.
Right, but the whole world is afraid that we're getting too crowded, and who's thinking about this stuff? I mean, who's in a room saying let's make a virus and balance the population? That's so stupid, you know. But there's so much controversy on the intel. What's the intel on population control?
No, the intel basically is that we don't have a good policy in terms of healthcare. We talk about WHO, but WHO is not a prominent or not an authorized organization because there are a lot of politics around. And also we don't talk about a lot of issues. You know, during the pandemic, we automatically our ozone layer clears up, and as per NASA, they said that the ozone layer is like good for next 1,000 years. So there are a lot of automatically things going around, and we are happy that lockdown happened, and that ways the Earth and the environment is automatically rebooting themselves. But we don't talk about a lot of issues. Population is one of them, but what about water issues? What about other issues as well? And then the important part is that we don't have a global pandemic organization. If
Yeah.
we have a organization, we could have done something better, because WHO was not able to handle it, and there is no organization which is handling the pandemic right now. Everyone has their own thing, and in fact, there was a study that only Iceland have a pandemic policy. Apart from that, there was no pandemic policy in any of the countries.
Whoa.
So that means,
Whoa.
yeah.
That's
So that
horrible.
means anything,
You know, Ankit, we missed virology class in high school. They didn't teach us this, and we didn't take Pandemic 101. But there is a video game on the pandemic you can buy, and that's something we really got to take a look at. The pandemic.
I looked at it, and it was violent. They were shooting the virus. They were with a gun.
No, they were shooting the virus with a gun.
Yeah, all these viruses were coming up like this. I looked at it.
Oh, and you're shooting the virus with a gun.
Up and there was a gun. You could shoot the virus.
So what you're telling me, Jeff, it wasn't educational at all.
I'm wanting educational.
Educational.
Yeah, I have a question for you. Basically, when we talk about Olympics and then we have a shooting game, do you support those games with those shooting ranges and all this stuff?
I don't, but Jeff really likes the shooting games because, you know, when he's doing his stuff, he's got to go like that, right, Jeff?
I just want to shoot love into everybody's heart and stop bullets. I want to get rid of all war mentality, and I want Gandhi to be on my T-shirt because Gandhi would not play those games.
Ankit, can you get Gandhi on IBM TV?
I can get Gandhi right now on IBM TV.
Okay, right. Yeah, well, let's get Gandhi on because we need.
I'll just bring Gandhi right now.
We're gonna bring Gandhi on.
I still believe that in Antarctica, the reason that there's no COVID is because they isolate, and that's the joke. But what about the homeless population? They say there's no COVID in the homeless because
there's no homeless in Antarctica.
No. That's a good segue. But I'm just saying, all over the country in America, the homeless population is not being drowned by.
There's Gandhi. There's Gandhi. Well, he's showing up in the right space.
In India, Jeff, everyone is having Gandhi because they keep in their pocket, and that's very good for everyone to live a good life. And when we talk about Gandhi, we talk about 2nd October, which is what you call a liquor-free day in India, and then all those currency notes have Gandhi picture in that as well. And we believe in Gandhi as well. It's not that, but we are also a country of a lot of other popular leaders, which is not that popular in your country or in the world. But there's Subhash Chandra Bose, and they're like Sardar Patel and all those things who have been sacrificed their life apart from Gandhi. So there are a lot of other people as well. But Gandhi is popular because of non-violence movement and because of a lot of other factors as well. And we still believe in Gandhi. I would suggest you to watch a movie called Munna Bhai MBBS. I will share that link with you. That is about Gandhi and how you have to do Gandhigiri. So that would be interesting for you as well. So I'll do that.
Well, we have to remember all the greats: Krishna, Buddha, Haile Selassie, and Gandhi. We remember them. They walked the earth gently. They didn't make bullets. They were married maybe one time.
Jeff, how about doing a show about those famous personalities who were there in the past and who are there in the future? We can do a separate show about that and take one personality and discuss about that personality every episode. How about that?
Yeah, then we can go through each personality.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Basically, it's not just about Indian personalities; it's about the world personalities, people who have changed the world. We can definitely do that.
Right. Look at Elvis. Look at David Bowie. Look at Paul McCartney. Look at Gandhi.
But Jeff, right now it's time to wrap up because we have to start another show, Financial Friday, sometime soon. So maybe we can join on that as well. And thank you for joining us today on
nice to meet you, Sharif.
And
thank you.
We are coming up with Financial Friday in just 2 minutes from now, 1 p.m. EST. So do join us on IBM TV. And before we wrap up, I'll just play our outro and then we'll wrap up the show.